Why, hello there. Woohoo!
Hey guys.
Welcome, misfits, to this episode of Midnight Ranting. Return to Mecca?
We got one for you guys tonight.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
We are exploring the notion that Moses, our main man, Charlton Heston, and the children of Israel
Schmishmail.
migrated from Mecca. So come join James W. and myself, Amy Newman, for some cube on cube fun. Oh my. Woohoo!
Woohoo, guys.
I want to thank everyone out there for joining us on the intertubes. If you have at least one vaccination shot or a booster, now is your time to activate your 5G. Boop, 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 boop. I love it when it connects easy. Not that 4G. Somehow the 4G wasn't powerful enough for a conspiracy, but 5G, that's where it's at.
Right. Yeah. I guess not.
Yeah. And not at the... my gosh, at 3G, it was just the same Verizon commercials at the time where they were still saying, "Can you hear me?" Good!
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Oh, what lovely commercials. But
This
yes.
guy went to Sprint. Thank goodness he went to Sprint. Now there is no Sprint. Is there Sprint anymore? No.
It's a good question. They're
I don't
all
think there's
kind
a
of Borging. That's what they always eventually do. That's why it's
I don't think they have 5G in Saskatchewan right now.
Gotta get 6G, 7G. One day
Yes,
they'll
sir.
have 12G. There'll be just G's right in your... so many G's. But yes, if you're feeling fancy, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Then hit that bell icon, normally right next to it. That's how you get reminders to join our live streams. Woo-hoo-hoo. Thank you, Twitch and YouTube. So clever. Thank you, Borg. Thank you.
6G.
Someone was telling me the other day, or reminding me, that Google's original slogan was "Do Good." Times.
When was that? Like 1999?
Probably.
Something like that?
They're just
Wow.
getting out there. We are a skeptic channel, including the two schmucks you see before you.
Oh, yeah.
Though after the video in which we will see the other side of this topic, I'm sure the real expertise. We'll be opening up the floodgates, or rather, the open mic, so anyone can say what's on their mind about the topic. Oh, really? That is fascinating.
Right.
We'll also give everyone the chance to have their own opening and closing statements. Atheist or theist, liberal or conservative, come as you are, just, oh, God. On the sheets? On the Shrouded Turbine?
Yeah.
You're going to do that to me? Oh, I just had it cleaned. I just had the burn marks taken out.
No, we did the glory hole, Amy, so it'll go through the shroud. Come on.
Oh, okay. That makes it better.
You can't do that on a sacred piece of cloth like that.
Not on a sacred cloth.
Do it through it. Yeah, there you go. Just like
Right
the
here,
Jewish wedding thing, right?
No. We would never do such a thing. But you can also find our Patreon page at patreon.com/Amy Newman, which helps us make even more fun content. I imagine it like a cape. I just have to get that out of me, like Shroud of Turin cape. I was just thinking about that.
Like the Standing for Truth logo.
It's almost like how the Punisher got his thing, like the skull got imprinted on him. My gosh, maybe it was a supervillain.
Bubbles-
Maybe it was the guy
Bubbles
who
Grim
killed
Reaper?
Jesus. Dun dun dun. He just
Bubbles
laid
Grim
on-
Reaper.
Yeah, exactly.
Bubbles, yeah.
Dun dun dun. No, he's a polytheist. We love all our theists
But he
out
believes
there.
that the
Doesn't
Grim Reaper
matter.
is one of his gods. Like
Grim Reaper, baby. There was always that kid in high school who wore the Grim Reaper t-shirt. Wore it like every day. But
dressed like Smokey Saint's avatar.
I mean, who can I hate? I got my lip ring. But yes, we also love our Patreons like K.
Can't get enough of them.
Can't get enough.
They taste so good. Medium rare. Perfect.
I like a medium steak, though before anyone cringes at me, I come from a family where my mom was like, oh, we killed it. Did we get it? Did we get it? Turn it over. Ooh, all right, charcoal. Here we go. Charcoal for you, and charcoal for you, and charcoal for you. And so medium is like basically rare for me.
Medium Patreon.
Yeah. But also sending love to KO Champ. Just had an episode. Spoiler alert on What If Doom. But also went for the head. Thank you, KO Champ. Thor.
The four-headed monster from Revelation, or
yes, that too. Interesting. I say that so much. There was a bunch of guys who gave I'm trying to remember Sexiness's name, but the actor, they gave him a bunch of shit because in between the first movie and the second movie, once again, spoilers, though it's been so many years, but spoilers. The first movie, they were about to, he was about to kill the main bad guy, and then didn't go for the head. And so for like a year, people would come up to him and they'd be like, "Why didn't you go for the head? Why didn't you go for the head?" This is Infinity War. That's right. I should give context to my nerd. Once again, this is what it sounds like. This is what it's gonna sound like in a few minutes. Though,
when we find out the real version of history,
but in
like all
my
that shit
defense,
you read in the books, it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
It's all wrong. But in my defense, I don't believe that any of this is real. I just think it's fantastic mythical structure, so I'm going to keep on giving my money to it. Nonetheless, it is because they had 2 movies. They sometimes, if you can bank on a good director, a producer will be like, "Give me 2 movies." Avatar, because it was a record, they're making all 4 movies. They're doing it back to back to back to back. And so, in fact,
back to back.
Woohoo! I'm pretty sure they're done filming the 4th one. They're like just wrapping up production on the 4th, which is crazy because they're just wrapping up post-production on the 1st. So wrap your head around that. Love it though. I love James Cameron.
Yeah.
James Cameron doesn't do what James Cameron does for James Cameron. James Cameron does what James Cameron does because James Cameron is James Cameron.
Oh. Well,
I love South Park. Oh my Jesus. But I have to finish it now. I have to finish it. It's Infinity War and Endgame. These were filmed back to back. So this actor knew the entire time, but he took a year's worth of shit of people just screaming at him in the street, "Go for the head! Why didn't you go?" Okay.
Right.
And then he did. Okay. There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
And he did.
It felt satisfying for me to end my little tangent. Okay, but yes, sending love.
A little rant.
a little rant, but that's what we are
You're
here
looking for
for.
your
Right,
cast iron
ladies
pan.
and gentlemen, if it was
Get
a
the
snake,
pan, Amy.
it would have bit me. But the Atheist Roundtable and Tang Gang
network
Yo Network Group
thing.
Oz, sending love to Oz, but not just sending love to Oz, sending love to the entire community as we gather to make an even better event. Tickets on sale now, baby. A better. Time to have better communications at the better. You better be there. Better butter. I can like a good beer.
Oz.
Beer can win me over. But yes, thank you so much, Oz. But also love from Ian Davenport.
Thank you, Ian.
Davenport. Woohoo. And also Free Guy. It's 1-ups. Or Zelda. Or really any good amount of games that have health point systems. Woohoo! Thank you, Ian. But as we're preparing for whatever this claim that we're about to experience tonight, it kind of makes us, along with when we hear claims about 6,000-year-old Earths, and I guess Snake Boy and any of the other claims that don't have evidence.
Evolution.
Yes, they have such a friggin' hard-on for evolution. And really, what they have is even more so for abiogenesis, because they can't knock over evolution because it's basically the pit. It is the backbone of modern biology.
Yeah.
You can't go into a hospital without evolution functioning. Please wear masks and gloves as they've been doing the entire time. Thank you, science. Because why? Because, bacteria and viruses evolve, just like all of life. We can see this in action. If you can't see this in action right now in this specific time period, I really don't know what else to.
But there's no way for the bad mutations to get filtered out, so it just won't work.
I've heard all sorts of dumb reasons for not wearing masks. Like, once again, if this is even political, that's wrong with you, because it's not political, it's science. This is they wear masks in surgery for a reason. Like every film, as the doctor comes off and you see the surgeon comes in and he's like, "I'm sorry, she's not gonna make it, or she will make it. He's gonna be happy. Who knows?" But the mask, it always comes off the face in that one time in the dramatic moment. The point is, scientists, doctors, they wear masks. Evolution is true, and all of this makes us go. Bung, 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 bung. Thank you so very much, Grumpy. Oh, cuss.
Thank you,
my
Grumpy.
Lordy.
Yes.
And just sending love to everyone on Team Science. It does. It just annoys me because stuff like that, it shouldn't be only in America. I love this country. Really do. But the whole religious element that draws the anti-science element makes me a
little hot and bothered.
Yes, a little hot and bothered. It does, because they're going to look back at this one day. You know, we do a lot of cool things. My goddess, Elon Musk, when he's not trolling, he's doing a lot of good things. But they're going to look back and they're going to see the struggle. They're at least going to see, because I don't want to go hyperbolic and say it was like an Inquisition period.
Right.
But they are going to see a struggle between the science and the anti-science movement. That is definitely going to be
like a 1,000 years from now. It'll be very apparent, like when they're looking back at it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're in the middle of it now, so
like almost, because I don't want to say an anti-enlightenment period, because if you look at like Steven Pinker's work, you know, we are gaining grounds in almost every area that we should, even though if you don't turn on the news, you won't find that. But generally speaking, we are gaining grounds in that aspect. But
Church
definitely,
it's we're moving in the right direction.
Exactly. And I'm just biased. I think a giant reason for that is because of religion's retreat, because of the internet and other tools that are slowly being afforded to us. But yes, thank you so much, Crumpy. And
thank you,
sending love to more women in the skeptic community and taking back our freaking rights and other freaking things to fight for. Sending love to Diana Smith.
Diana Smith.
Princesses in one. Disney princesses have been better lately. I saw that one. I need to remember one or two. They had one that was like a scruff girl. That was like a scruffy girl. That it was like the theme that was like she was weird and somehow she won. It was the dragon one. I'm so bad at this.
I don't spend a lot of time watching princess movies, but I'll take your word for it.
Woohoo! Oh, I like Pixar. I'm very biased towards Pixar. Pixar was one of the first big animation powerhouses, I believe, with Toy Story. I believe Toy Story was an animation short. This is my visual effects, just love. And they make good movies. It all depends on some things are freaking corny. Others, I'll say it as much and as often as possible, because it is the one good thing that we kind of get from religion is mythic structure. I'm very biased. I think that's why Avatar worked, combined with the fact that he had a message. He used mythic structure. He had a message. That's why.
Very well made.
Yeah, I can't help it. I'm going to keep on fangirling, ladies and gentlemen. But sending love to Diana.
Thank you,
Diana Smith. And also love to the archaeologist who, speaking of making go bung, 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 this is just another offense to him, Pat Lowinger. Because I like history. Like, so I'm biased.
It happened.
Exactly. I'm biased towards science. I think, that is what makes us move towards the future. But if we do not understand our history, we are doomed to repeat our mistakes, and we often do. As said by many
why things
better
are the
people
way they are
before
today.
me. Exactly. It gives you context.
Got to where we're at, right?
Because if you... I'll
you don't know how we got here, then you don't know what to do.
And I'll say this. I feel better. I'm developing better conversations, better community on sale now. But I am developing a bit. Like I said, in Afghanistan, I feel so much better actually just doing research on a lot of the history throughout Afghanistan. You start to realize what the hell has been going on there. Gives a new meaning. I was telling James this the other day. Gives a new meaning to the word civil war. My goddess. I feel like the people of Afghanistan are just like, what? And these are just the powers of transfer going back and forth. What? Because holy hell, I feel so bad for them. My heart. Just for, who cares, the leaders and all the back and forth and all this, just the absolute people of Afghanistan. My people goes out to you because, oh my goddess, maybe one day there will be peace there. That's all I don't pray. So all I can say is I hope.
Pray. We hope.
Because that doesn't work. You can only hope. We can all just try and do our part in trying to make the world better. We are citizens of Earth. So we're in this together. Sending love to Pat Lowinger.
Thank you, Pat.
Woohoo! But also, as we gather, just like we've been talking about, we're gathering all the skeptics in one. Sending love to Dale Pastel.
Thank you, Dale.
And it's funny, we only asked for a little bit of empirical evidence. The best we've got so far was
I don't think we're going to get any
Captain
of that tonight,
Cape,
though.
the Shrouded Terran. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get any of that tonight either.
So.
We'll be looking for it. But saying so much love, Dale.
Thank you, Dale.
And I can't help. I'm okay. If it would have been thin, but it looks like a thick Earth, James. What do you think?
It's not. I wouldn't call that thin crust myself, but
yeah, don't look thin crust. I like thin crust, but it looks thick.
I could do pan or hand tossed or pan, but thin crust is just pizza on a cracker. It's just not.
Yeah. Oh, you don't like the New York style pizza?
New York style is okay, like the hand tossed. But like the real thin crust where it's like a cracker because it's so thin. Yeah.
So you don't like the unleavened bread pizza? You would not do well in the Exodus with trying to make a pizza.
No, I wouldn't even bother with that shit.
Oh, man, that sounds like a bit. They're all just leaving, and you're just trying to make a pizza. Come on, guys.
And Moses comes out at the end.
Iron team.
He's like, hey, the Lord our God, the creator of the universe, the guy who's rescuing us, told me that make sure, as we're ready to leave, that we go into our neighbor's house and steal their gold and silver and valuables as we're making our way out.
Very weird passage.
Okay. So I guess we're just going in and taking shit. Okay. Well, God said it. Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it sounds like a tip your fedora moment. Like, what are these atheists talking about? But right as the slaves were leaving Egypt, just as they were getting their freedom, before the whole Wooder event and miracle, the whole, the special effects team gets a blow, they were told to steal things from the people around them.
Well,
so
see, what probably happened was they probably wrote that bit about the golden calf, and then they start thinking about, well, wait a minute, where would slaves get a bunch of gold from? That doesn't make sense.
Which is so funny.
That in there at the end.
We were just talking about all this, trying to find the situational way in which stealing could be good last night, because it's generally bad to steal from people, but trying to find the gray areas. And I wonder if they would apply that to the Bible.
Oh, well, divine command theory, of course. So, I mean,
God
they need the gold to make the golden calf so God can get mad and kill people. So they don't have gold because they were slaves, so they have to take the gold from the people on their way out, right?
It makes sense if you really just don't.
They don't have Rumpelstiltskin there to make it from the straw, so they're going to have to steal it.
Yeah. Apparently. I mean, you would think they'd just be happy as slaves or free slaves and leave. I would actually say you could make a defense if you are a slave and you're breaking free to take some stuff from your slave masters. My thing then would be like, you're on my territory. You're on probably similar to your territory, like in terms of morality. Once we're looking into what humans are doing and how the agents are reacting and what the situation of the event is, well, it doesn't seem like a God's even needed at that point. In fact, it just seems like God's fucking shit up. Oh, well, thank you.
Since the Exodus really didn't happen, but I mean, if it was a similar model, if it was a similar model to like antebellum slavery, where most of the slaves were owned by a relatively small minority of the population, so to just go randomly stealing, you would have to go and steal from your master. Then I guess that would be maybe payment, but to just broadly go and steal, I mean, that's like collective guilt. I don't know.
Well, yeah. Well, it doesn't.
Case for it, but
the Bible is not one for logistics, so it's up to our interpretation. It just says
post hoc, just cobbled together after the fact. And, Praise God.
But yes, sending love to not just Dave Gar, but the lead hyena of the Skeptic Pack. Bum, 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 bum. Scott Duke. Woohoo! Sending love, Scott. And I guess it was he was a vegetarian hyena before the flood, I think, right? That's how that works. But yeah. That gets me now. Like, understanding that the canon is that it's from the flood, even sillier. I think I've said this before. Like, just if I was making a mythos, like, you already had a fall. Like, they were you could have said they're vegetarian before the fall. But no, you're going to say the really big, massive amount of rain. That's what did it. I don't get it. The animals were so stunned at everyone drowning to death that they became cannibalistic-ish, I guess, carnivores. Everyone became carnivores. They went crazy because they're like, this god's really evil. We should probably eat meat.
God just made him be carnivore.
Yeah, I don't know the logistics, once again. Can we have the field manual to that one? Nothing.
Like Nothing. He said, lions could survive just fine on cabbage, right?
Just fine. I know. Also, just next to it. They have to say that because what they have to be able to say is that a lion and a gazelle were chilling right next to each other. Perfectly fine. The gazelle was just like, hey, lion, how are you? And the lion was like, great. I love my diet of, herbs and spices over here, so I don't really care about you. Okay.
I'm just thinking this cabbage.
Celery, yeah, cabbage. Makes a really strong mane. Really strong.
It just
makes sense.
Never would have occurred to them to eat another animal.
But then all of a sudden, it's like all dramatic. As in most movies, you have the rain. And then everyone screams and dies. And it goes really silent. And just like in all the vampire movies, their eyes turn red and suddenly they want flesh. Makes sense. No, totally. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Biblical logic. We got this. Speaking of biblical logic, we have a biblical skeptic Bible study where we read this in the literal sense in all its glorious context with our thespian skull with Regos. Hi, Regos.
Hey, Regos.
And with that, I want to thank all of our Patreons who enable us to make such fun content along with our mods who make the stream so great and viewers like you who make this channel even possible. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Oh, and I see Pat backstage.
Yeah, we have
a special guest host. Nonetheless, as we go down, da-da-da-da-da. Oh, my. Return to Mecca. As in, did Moses rally God's so-called chosen people away from a golden calf? Not outside Egypt, but outside of the Kaaba. One of Islam's most cherished holy sites. Well, no. Because Moses didn't exist. Now, I find this claim funny because it's not even wrong. Moses, or Musa, as he is referred to in the Quran, doesn't support this. Neither does the New Testament. or the Torah. Though that won't stop people from cherry-picking passages and creating their own version of the Moses mythos. That's because who's to stop them? We're talking about canon that was at one point oral tradition. That's what she said. Passed down like a grandpa version of Whisper Down the Lane. Sounds like someone is retconning storylines to fit their narrative. Then again, religion loves doing that. Because none of these holy books are historical text. Instead, they become historical timestamps of what people at the time believed in. The scholarly consensus is currently that Moses was not a real person. At least, not in the literal sense. The same goes for a proposed mass exodus of Jewish slaves from Egypt. Nor the killing of firstborn Egyptian sons from a deity, or anyone talking to a burning bush and the bush talking back. However, does the Bible tell of Moses having a return to Mecca? No. And generally speaking, the majority of monotheistic theists aren't saying so either. So, while my mind is always open-minded, good luck. And I wish you well finding
Nemo?
Any relevant evidence. Yeah, finding Nemo too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Woohoo! And all right, how are you, James? And what do you think? Moses in for Mecca fun?
Right. Oh yeah. So what we're going to see today is a video presentation about a book that somebody wrote, having to do with the Exodus and Mecca and the Kaaba. And we're going to see somebody take a few things from history and kind of mold them into a narrative and kind of take things out of context and present something that really didn't happen. Like Amy said, the scholarly consensus is there was no Moses, there was no Exodus. These were their literary devices. There was a pharaoh in Egypt, but coincidentally, the Bible doesn't even tell us which one. So you could never actually check to see who the pharaoh was at the time the texts were written, because it didn't really happen. They don't want to tell you a pharaoh, because if they gave the wrong one, you could be very easy to show that it didn't happen that way. But nevertheless, so we're presented with this story of an Exodus, and so we have a guy who's going to try to kind of amalgamate Judaism, Christianity, and Islam all together. And yeah, it's going to be a fun ride. So thanks, guys. We will see what he's got cooking for us.
And all right, thank you so very much, James. And we have one more special guest host before we watch the opposing view. But Pat Lowinger, we are having fun. That's right. We are asking ourselves, is there going to be a return to Mecca, which means that Moses must have been there once. How are you? What are your thoughts?
Mute, Pat. You on mute?
That's okay. I do it once a stream.
Okay. Thanks for having me on. As always, you and James are very gracious. James getting a hold of me a couple hours ago before I was getting ready to teach class tonight and said, "Hey, you want to come on a stream?" So I said, "Sure." So I actually had some time to look into this beyond what I already knew. I think I'm going to hold my comments and I'll save them for inside. But I think some people will be who aren't familiar with the region, particularly Saudi Arabia and the surrounding regions, might be surprised by some of the actual archaeological evidence. So that's it. Let's just go ahead and jump in the video.
Woo-hoo.
Let's do it. Jump right in.
All right. So, da-da-da-da-da.
Oh, and I'm drinking beer.
Hey,
we all know what happens when Pat
let me tell you,
that's the best thing to do with it, Pat.
Stream. Absolutely. And so we do not mind here. And I will say, it may take you one or two just to comprehend. Some people always say, I think Amaretto used to say, if I keep smoking, will they start to make sense? I'm not sure. But we are going to hear from the other side. Don't want to straw man anyone. No.
For Ken Hovind to make sense, though. That would be.
Oh my God, Esther! How much do you have to watch Kenneth Copeland not look like the Antichrist? But we are going to hear from the other side, or rather, a video from Avi Lipkin called "Return to Mecca," where he claims that Moses and the children of Israel migrated from Mecca. During the video, as I scream into the microphone, feel free to tag James W. or myself at Amy Newman in chat.
She's usually moaning into the microphone.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Hey, I think she's about to get free. Speaking of oh, baby. With your thoughts, comments, and questions. And when we're done, we'll be moving on to the open mic.
You can be her new conservative.
I know. I can't help it. Trying to think what the rabble-rouser in me is so happy she's getting free. Though I think everybody's team Brittany at this point. So anyone can tell us what you think about the wisdom they learned tonight. And with that, let's get to the cube-on-cube action.
The board cube.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're Midnight Ranting, and we are watching Return
board cube.
to Mecca. I know, right?
Well, hello again. Gary Stearman. Time for another edition of Prophecy in the News. Today we've got a tremendous program for you. Avi Lipkin is here from Israel, and he's brought his brand new book. It's called Return to Mecca. This is going to be a great
we can see. Everyone already has that page bookmarked.
Well, it's my pleasure to welcome Avi Lipkin back to Oklahoma City, back to Prophecy in the News. Avi, it's always fun when you're here.
Love to be here.
Today, it's not only going to be fun, but we're going to get serious because you brought your new book. It's called Return to Mecca. And the topic of this book is absolutely revolutionary and has a lot to do with Bible prophecy, both from the perspective of the Jews and the Christians. And that's why we've invited him here. Avi is a Jew speaking on behalf of Judaism, and he's presenting a message.
Always a weird sentence. I know that they don't mean it that way.
I think you need to hear. He wants his own people to hear this message. Isn't that right, Avi?
Very correct. And by the way, my people, forgive me for being arrogant, are the Jews and the Christians together.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
The bullshit starts. The Judeo-Christian.
Pat loves the Judeo-Christian narrative.
Yeah.
I hate it, but Did it sound kind of odd the way he said Jew? I mean, was that just my ear being overly sensitive?
No,
my Jewish friend, you're a Jew. Like, let's put as many labels and dog whistles out there as possible.
I mean, once again,
we're only a minute in, and I'm already triggered. So.
And no, I always want to think the best faith or hope or whatever the hell word you want to say, good faith Jewish interlocutor. But no, this person is Christian, the one in the suit. But just the way
other guy,
the other, well, I believe he's kind of like the Messianic Jew or whatever you want to call it. But just like you were saying, Pat, that sentence, I'm sending love to this guy, but that's the kind of sentence where you're like, oh no, which line do you want to get in? Anyway.
And by the way,
I've known tolerance juice and see how it goes.
Exactly.
I'll be drinking tolerance juice. Yeah.
Tolerance juice. Sending love to everybody.
Years to know that he has tremendous affection among all over the United States. In my little church assembly included among those, because we always remember the time you came, and
you remember the time Amy came.
I want to say the first time I heard this, I feel much better now.
I remember hearing that, and I said, "Oh God, Amy's gonna be
like." That was. I'm holding it in better than I did the first time.
That was packaged and put it with a bow on a silver platter, right for you, Amy. Just go ahead, go back like 3 seconds, just get it again.
Assembly included among those, because we always remember the time you came.
Oh God, ladies and gentlemen, I will say
it was that memorable.
We do have the academic with us tonight, but there are also two schmucks, and you will see the maturity level right there as we're moving forward.
Yeah. And Avi always has something new and interesting to talk about. And today, the title of this book, Return to Mecca. What could that possibly mean? And on the cover is a picture of a black cube.
The cube.
That's where the story starts. Avi, let's start right there.
Yes.
Yes.
I believe that the Bible is a GPS.
Oh, and so second ridiculous claim, possibly, but also every time that your blood pressure goes up, Pat, feel free to tell us, foreskin or whatever.
Girl dick.
Whatever you need to say.
I believe that the Bible took place, a lot of it took place in Arabia. There are certain Christians, like the Caldwells, Jim and Penny, who spent 14 years in Arabia, and many, many Christians, not only they, Leonard Moeller, Dr. Kim from Korea, Ron Wyatt.
See, he's explaining it. He's explaining it right here. The Bible. Get your GPS ready. You get your 5G ready.
That's the guy who did the fake Ark expedition. So that's one of the guys he's shouting out.
Really? So
found
shouting out frauds already?
That's one of Ken Hovind's sources, Ron Wyatt.
Of course.
Then Bob Tornyuk, a lot of people. Actually, in most churches, Christians say to me, we know that Mount Sinai, the real Mount Sinai, is not in the Sinai Peninsula, but rather in northwest Saudi Arabia. It's called Jebel al-Lawz. So a lot of my inspiration for what I'm doing, I received from the Christians. I am the first Jew in the
Yeah, more before he gets into it. Yes, it is, Randolph. This is the frying pan of love that we are holding, though I'm going to lose my love here for a second. Let's hear that claim again, because he's about to make more nonsense.
I received from the Christians.
Mm-hmm.
I am the first Jew in the Jewish world who's coming to the rabbis and saying, the Torah is a GPS. Jethro, the high priest of Midian, he was the high priest of the Kaaba, the black stone, which is today in Mecca. There was no Mecca. It was just a black stone in those days.
Does this mean that the Bible could get me to my favorite sandwich place? Like, is this how this works? Or is it not backed by a GPS?
Moses was the son-in-law of Jethro, Moses was the understudy of Jethro for 40 years. And when Moses went to take the children of Israel out of slavery, he gave them the phylacteries, which they are to put on their forehead and on their left arm, as a sign from God that we are leaving the pyramid system of slavery in Egypt, and we're going to the cube system of freedom in Arabia.
We're going to the cube system of freedom in Arabia. First of all, cube system of freedom is a funny sentence. I just want to put that right there.
As soon as I heard that, I'm like, wow.
What does that even mean?
System of slavery. I don't know. You probably have to buy his book. He'll probably explain it to you, but you could probably find a copy.
And it must be remembered that there was no Judaism in those days. There was no Christianity. There was no Islam. All people, including the Israelite slaves, were pagans. And of course, the golden calf, basically the children of Israel
Which is an amazing statement for him to say.
When Moses delayed coming back.
It's a funny statement. They
were not in Egypt in great numbers, but the people at that time were pagans. They were polytheists. So that is something you don't normally hear. But
so the purpose of this book is to show where exactly we were, and that 38 years at least of the Exodus was in Arabia. Moses, Aaron, Jethro were at the Kaaba, which is today Mecca. And when God says in Deuteronomy 11 that the borders of Israel will include the desert to the south, that desert is Arabia. And the soles of our feet, wherever
he says it with such confidence, but I would like to see where he gets all of this from.
The soles of our feet will belong to Israel.
Now let's stop right there, and what I'd like to do at this point is sort of recapitulate the Exodus.
Correct.
For those watching, there are a lot of errors in the thinking of Christians over the years because we've had the wrong location for Mount Horeb. Right. And that came as a kind of a historical accident, if you will.
The GPS, they got it wrong.
Back at the beginning of the Christian era. And so let's recapitulate the wilderness wanderings of the children of Israel. They left Egypt and they headed east and they crossed what the Bible calls the Red Sea.
Right.
You take it from there.
Yes. Well, indeed, it could not have been further to the north because the Egyptian army under Pharaoh controlled the entire Egyptian peninsula. And it says in the Bible that they didn't go north, they went south because the north were the Philistines. And the Israelites feared warfare with them. So they took an entirely different path, which Moses probably knew.
They should have, because the Greeks
Moses was a
ass kickers.
What was that?
Saying you should fear the Philistines. Well, the Philistines are in all likelihood migrant Mycenaeans, right? So these are
from Greek.
These are basically Greeks before they were Greeks, right? And they've moved into the region, and they are known to be extremely belligerent and warlike. So, yeah, I wouldn't go there either. So maybe.
But the whole point of in the Exodus is that hey, don't worry about who it is because we've got God on our side. We could just go. We could just kick the door down and take over. You know.
I do want to just admit our buddy Avi here is basically saying. Even with God on their side, the Jews couldn't kick the Philistines' ass, so they had to go south.
They had to go around.
That out there.
Yeah. No, he's
a bunch of Greeks. Yeah, a bunch of Greeks kicking your ass. Not a good story for the supremacy of your God.
Yep.
Yeah. Somehow he keeps losing.
General in the Egyptian army, Moses waged a war in Ethiopia. It's something that most Jews and Christians don't even know.
Did he really?
Another source know about.
Did they not know about it because you made it up? Is that why?
Moses was
Moses, the Egyptian general in Egypt.
Egyptian general.
He knew Sinai. He knew the other side of the lake, the other side of the pond. Jethro was a cousin because Jethro's descended from Midian. Midian was one of the brothers of Isaac. So you have Ishmael, son of Hagar. And then you have the children of Keturah. So Midian is one of the children of Keturah. And from Midian, you go down to the next generation, which is Reuel or Raguel. And one of the names of Jethro in the Bible is Reuel. So he was probably in the Middle East. Many times people are named after grandfathers and great grandfathers. So Moses, when he had to flee Egypt after he killed the taskmaster who was beating the Jewish slave, the Israelite slave, he knew where he was going. He knew the geography. He was almost Pharaoh, so he had to know the geography. So he took the Israelites through the desert to what is today Nueva, on the eastern shore of the Red Sea of Sinai. That is where they crossed. By the way, King Solomon set up pillars, columns.
Can I just jump in?
Absolutely.
Okay, as someone who studies New Kingdom Egypt, at the end of the Bronze Age, I hear a lot of Christian and other religious groups talk about the adoption of Moses by Pharaoh's daughter, making like Moses somehow the number 2 or number 3 guy in Egypt. Right. That is so ahistorical. Right. Moses, adoption. Yes, in many cultures, adoptions equated actual birth, but daughter of the Pharaoh, being a child of Pharaoh's daughter did not put you in direct succession line.
Yeah.
Pharaoh's sons and sons of Pharaoh's brother would be in more direct line than, it was about male offspring who were direct descendants, right?
You would only,
Pharaoh's own sons, right?
Moses would only go to a female when there was no male available.
Correct. So let's just say that we are going to say Moses is a real person, which in any other context I wouldn't be able to. Yeah. Moses is in the royal
for the sake
family,
of argument,
but not for the sake of argument. He's not someone that's going to be in direct succession. Again, being the cousin of the future king, right? Doesn't make you in line to be the future king or Pharaoh of Egypt. I mean, it just they want to make Moses seem like he's hanging out with, and he may have, but he was not that he may have. In the story, his proximity to the Pharaoh is questionable, just within a historical context, right? Like, so if you're framing your historical fiction, do it better. You should have said that maybe he was adopted by Pharaoh's wife or adopted by Pharaoh, right? But Pharaoh's daughter makes him a grandchild. That does not put him in direct succession, particularly when Pharaoh, even in the story, had male sons.
Yeah, I will say it's going to be basically us having to separate, because there is the notion, or I would say the fact, that the scholarly evidence does not point to a historical Moses, and yet James got summoned by Satan, has to go do real estate in hell. That's okay. But there's the historical fact that Moses isn't a real person. But then there is the fact that we can read the Bible, we can read the Quran, and this goes against, generally speaking, from what I know, this goes against a lot of what is actually in there. He's just...
So, yeah, Amy, you're right. As a historian, I don't think Moses existed. But if I'm looking at the text as a literary device, right, and then you examine the historical context in which it was written, projecting the narrative of Moses, actually, it makes a lot of sense for Moses to be near, but not attached to the royal family, right? That he's an adopted son of Pharaoh's daughter, right? And then Pharaoh comes to power. They're both, he grows up in the household of the Pharaoh. But he's an outsider in the inner group. Does that make a sense? He's the black sheep, so to speak.
Yeah, it's a good place to be if you were about to get murdered. That's an upgrade, but it doesn't mean that just because you got adopted, now you're going to be Pharaoh.
Right.
And I see that all the time. Like, he was next in line to be Pharaoh, and I'm like, we don't get that. Yeah. Like, have you studied Egyptology? But what it does is it creates a false narrative, right? It creates this Moses.
He gave it all up.
Double down on Moses existed, and then you double down that Moses could have been Pharaoh, but for Pharaoh, and then and now he gave up this great sacrifice to lead the people of Egypt.
Makes it more heroic. You have higher stakes.
Right. He becomes not only does he become George Washington, he becomes Abraham Lincoln and Jesus Christ all rolled into one.
Oh my, I would see that play.
But I mean, if he was that high up, like that high of a position in the royal family, then he should have been able to just order the Egyptian to leave that Hebrew alone. Hey, leave him alone. Don't leave that guy alone. He wouldn't have to kill him.
And murder would not have been something that would have forced him to flee Egypt. I mean, that's the reality of it. If he was that high, and that's the issue with this narrative that's important. The crafting is he's inside, but not so inside that he's given this, this
untouchable
ability to just do as he pleases, right? Doesn't have untouchable status. So when he commits murder of another high-ranking Egyptian, he has to flee the country.
It's a big deal, yeah.
Or a middle-ranking Egyptian, right?
Right.
Solomon set up pillars, columns on the two opposite sides of the coast where the Israelites crossed. The Saudis destroyed one of them and threw it into the sea. And that area is forbidden for foreigners to go swimming. Anyone who goes swimming there will be shot. So the Saudi army is there, making sure nobody gets
there and wait for people to go swimming and shoot.
And I think from what the Coldwells told me, that on the Egyptian side, the pillar is still there also. And of course, there are the proofs of the chariots that are in the Red Sea there at that place.
Yeah, we talked
Newman
about that last
week.
Other
signs that prove
that sea is not called the Red Sea today.
There are chariot wheels at the bottom of a body of water. Therefore, that must be
which is the Red Sea.
The Exodus.
Say that again?
But they're not.
I said there are wheels on the bottom of a body of water. Therefore, the only reason way they could ever get there would be for the Exodus to be true. I mean, that's quite a leap there.
They're wagon wheels. They're not. I mean,
not chariot wheels. Yeah.
Just going right.
So you have a boat that sinks and it's got stuff on it, and then anyway.
X music is like, what is the upside down cone in the background? I know, now I can't think.
Of course, it's not red, even though the mountains are Edom, which are red mountains. But another meaning of Suf,
I think that's their version of modern art.
It is a comic book or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Suf means the boundary sea.
Not much
meaning
on the bookshelf,
that if we are looking at Arabia,
that's true.
If we are looking at the entire,
that's kind of funny.
Pat's bookshelf.
Not to be hating, it just sees where their values are. They built a bookshelf, so you think they would have
got his book and a comic book there and two other books there. They probably have a Bible there somewhere, but
and I'm not hating on comic books. There's a lot of value in comic books, and this is the era of comic book heroes. It just seems odd if you're going to build a bookshelf and not put books on it. But we're having fun.
If you're going to talk theology and history,
we are Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca.
What happened, Pat?
When my book comes out, it's going right here. You're going to see it all the time. So I actually appreciate what they're doing. It's going to be right here.
Like a whole shelf of them.
With how you can, right, exactly. So you can buy it online, suggested retail price,
I mean,
please go to Simon & Schuster as soon as it's available.
Walk into the bookstore and that's it. It's all Pat's books on every shelf.
All Pat, all the time. Right?
Yeah. Every shelf, every book you pull out, Pat Lowinger, Pat. That's it.
You will actually hear people out in the parking lot screaming, "Betrayed! The Orthodox corruption, the Orthodox subjugation of women in the early Christian church. I have to have one now." And there'll be fights and massive pandemonium in the parking lot.
It's what I hear about often at bars. But
they'll be selling them like hotcakes at the churches,
Exactly.
Will be.
We are having fun. This is definitely a guy to take super serial.
Entirety of Arabia. If we are looking at Arabia, if we are looking at the entirety of Arabia, that the Israelites went to places like Basra, which is mentioned in the Bible. They went to Yemen, which is mentioned in the Bible. They went to places near Oman, which is mentioned in the Bible. And there are archaeological proofs. 40 years in the desert. Sinai Peninsula of Egypt could not house 1, 2, or 3 million people for 40 years. There was no food, and by the way, there's no archaeological proof at all of an exodus in the Sinai Peninsula. There's tons of archaeological proof in the Arabian Peninsula.
Now, my point will bring us to I think the meat of the subject today. Mount Horeb, then, is across on the east.
I'm sorry.
Gonna go horn around.
I was gonna say, my mind can't go anywhere else. He was on Mount Hor. We all know where he was.
Amy's been out a horn around. Like
it's in the land that the Bible calls Midian.
Right.
And right on the edge of the Saudi Arabian desert, if you look at a map. And so that's where the children of Israel lodged, at the foot of Mount Horeb.
Very correct. And by the way, in Deuteronomy 2, verse 2, God says to the Israelites, or to Moses, to the Israelites, enough being encamped around this mountain, turn northward. Meaning we
don't want to go north.
Turn northward to the land of the Amorites, which I have promised.
This GPS sucks.
Now, again, one of the problems here is when we're looking at the final borders of Israel, as promised by God, the borders say from the Mediterranean to the Euphrates and from Lebanon to the desert. So what's the desert? The desert is not the Negev. The Negev was the tribe of Judah. The desert is not Sinai Peninsula. That was Pharaonic Egypt. The desert had to have been Saudi Arabia.
Desert had to have been Saudi Arabia. Now, here it gets in.
Sorry, what?
The 40-year wilderness wandering of the children of Israel.
Time out.
So, okay, we need to take an archaeological break. What's happening here is Avi, and he's my buddy now. Avi is conflating a couple things. Okay, first, archaeology has pretty much disproved a migration through the Sinai, right? That's we've talked about this before. There's no evidence to support it, and actually, there's some evidence to suggest that many of the narratives of the Bible, and again, this is a huge caveat, if Jews came out of Egypt into the Sinai, it appears that a lot of the cities they supposedly were supposed to have destroyed weren't destroyed. So if the narrative continues that they went south into Saudi Arabia, this is the problem. There actually was a Jewish kingdom established in what is modern day Yemen that during about the 5th century became extremely dominant. This is pre-Islamic, right? There was a Jewish kingdom. It was known as the Himyarite kingdom. And for those that want to look it up, I'll spell it for you. It's Himyarite. It was a Jewish kingdom. Yes, these are Yemenis Jews. Royal family, militarily very powerful. They extend influence out to Saudi Arabia, which in all likelihood included so they're founded. The kingdom's founded in the 2nd century CE. So again, Christianity's already coming on the board, but they're minor religions still. They haven't grown to the level that we're talking about in a lot of contexts. But Jews in Saudi Arabia were a dominant political group in Yemen, and then by the 5th century, they extended that political influence into areas of Saudi Arabia. A majority of Saudi Arabia, and some scholars actually think it was they had political control of the entire region. What they started to do, whether or not it was forced conversion or coerced conversion, many pagan Arabs had already converted to Islam. I'm sorry, not Islam. Prior to the rise of Islam, this is what happens when I have 5 beers on board, had converted to Judaism prior to the rise of Islam. So this is the issue. We see pagan inscriptions, earlier pagan inscriptions from the 3rd and 4th century, going away and being replaced by monotheistic inscriptions of the great God, which is an indication that Judaism was becoming the prevalent religion in the region. Now, what's going to happen is at the end of the 6th century, there's going to be pressure from Christian Arabs in the north that had been converted to Christianity. And there's going to be pressures from some pagan groups, but we're going to see the Himyarite kingdom go into decline. But there's probably a good, at least solid century of very, very active, very militarily dominant control of the region by a kingdom that was both ethnically Jewish and was Arab. So this is the kind of thing, like, yes, there's a lot of archaeological evidence for a bunch of Jews running around the Arabian Peninsula, but it's literally 1,200 years after this knucklehead is saying it happened. Well, how do we know? Right. We have inscriptions in, I'm doing this off the top of my head from notes I took earlier after our talk, James. there was a report done in like 2014 by a group of French ethnographic specialists and epigraphers who study inscriptions that were found in the region. And what we find is that there are both Christian, and this is issues with some people within the Saudi Arabian government. There are Christian inscriptions and Jewish inscriptions in Saudi Arabia showing that for a long time, Saudi Arabia was a Jewish and in some regions Christian-controlled region, right? It wasn't pagan, and what that does actually dispels the Quran's right. It's pre-Islamic, but it also dispels the Quran's narrative that everybody living in Saudi Arabia were pagans, with a sprinkling of Jews and just a couple Christians. The reality is, the Jews were dominant. Whether or not how many people are converting to direct Judaism is still somewhat contentious. And there's a French epigraphic specialist, epigrapher, named Christian Robin. I think its last name spelled Robin, who actually did a big study. And this has like been his life's work was in this region. And he's found a lot of inscriptions that show, yes, there were Christians, but a lot of Jews. And it seemed like the dominant social group were Jewish. And obviously there were a lot of pagan conversions of Judaism, because we see earlier pagan, the prevalence of pagan inscription being placed by ones that alluded to monotheistic mindset. Now, whether or not they were Jewish or adopting the concept of a greater God, like maybe the Jews that were the Himmerite kingdom was allowing a form of just general acknowledgement of a single divine deity, a plural monotheism that wasn't necessarily ethnically Jewish. And that's the other thing too. This group in that originated in Yemen may have not been the most, like, by Jewish standards, they may not have been Jewish enough, but they were Jewish by their own cultural perspective, because that's how they identified themselves.
Pat, are you saying they were only Jewish?
Correct, right? And again, what it was from a Jew living in Palestine, the Himmerite kingdom may have been, well, they think they're Jewish, but they're not really Jewish like we're Jewish.
Right.
But from their perspective, they were Jewish, and they were Arabs, and they were projecting their power and influence into what is now modern Saudi Arabia. So yes, you're going to find a lot of quote unquote Jewish stuff in Saudi Arabia, but it has nothing to do with the Exodus, has nothing to do with Moses. Moses is a figment of this guy's imagination and mythology. But yeah, you can say, yeah, look, we found a lot of archaeology, but the archaeology shows a presence beginning in the 2nd century CE, projecting by the 4th and 5th, they're becoming dominant in the Saudi Arabian area. By the 6th century, they're starting to go into decline. And then eventually, by the time of Muhammad, again, Muhammad talks about how there's a few Jews living here and there. No, but they're on the decline. So again, there's a reason Muhammad early on, even in the Quran, is trying to convert some Jews to his banner, so to speak, to Islam, because they were a dominant cultural group in the region. So all that history aside, this just shows how off the fucking rails this guy actually is. Sorry.
So you could almost say that that Judaism and a little bit of Christianity like primed the pump on that region for monotheism, and then Islam came in and took over. It wasn't having to browbeat all these polytheistic pagans. They were already amenable to monotheism.
You take 1/2 Judaism, 1/4 Christianity, and 1/4 paganism, and you got Islam, buddy.
There you go.
That's my recipe for the new Abrahamic faith. So,
peace be upon him.
Yeah, stir it up, mix it, put in a little ethnic tension and racial purification, and you got Islam.
And how many virgins?
70 if you, but
70.
I heard it's like 69 and you get bored, right? No, that's just me.
Israel took place in Saudi Arabia.
I was going to say, Pat's getting feisty. I like it. It's always like, I'm going to be a gentleman, and then you're like, oh, please don't be that stupid. No, don't be that stupid. That's why we like having you on, Pat.
Right.
And this is quite fascinating because it opens the subject that we'll be dealing with in this book, Return to Mecca.
Yes, and indeed, even when we...
Also, Mark, his safe word, Pat's safe word is pineapple pizza. That is...
We read the Bible, when we read, for example, the book of Exodus.
I was gonna say girl dick, but who knows? Why?
God is describing the instructions of how to make the Ark of the Covenant and the tent of the meeting. And the boards, the wooden boards that were used, they say north is north, east is east, Kedma.
Right.
South is Yemen, facing towards Yemen. And westward, facing towards the Red Sea, Yama. Mm-hmm. So what it means is, if the sea is to your Red Sea is to your back and Yemen is to your right, then you're in Saudi Arabia.
Now, on the back of this book, there are 10 questions. Some of them rather complex. But the first.
Also, when you said Borg, Amaretto said Borg logic. These definitely come in from up there. You will assimilate. I can't do the voice, but
resistance is futile.
Resistance is futile.
This book. What role do Mecca and Medina play in the struggle between Western civilization and Islam? That is a $15 question if there ever was one. And I'm trying to move us to this book. Rather complex.
Say that one more time.
The first question on the back of this book: what role do Mecca and Medina play in the struggle between Western civilization and Islam? That is a $15 question.
Two of the
Even Gizmo is fascinated by this guy.
Places within Islam. I'm not sure what they have to do with the struggle between Islam and Western society, but I guess we're about to find out.
If there ever was one. And I'm trying now to move us into an area that I think most of our audience probably wouldn't be accustomed to thinking about. But this is very interesting.
Well, I believe that we are facing an Elijah moment. If you remember in the Bible, Elijah faced off against 450 priests of Baal. And, they set up their altars. And, by the way, it's interesting. The 450 priests of Baal, they were dancing and singing and jumping. Yeah. And their god or their gods did not consume their offering.
Damn it, he said offering. You could have filled anything in there, but fine.
There were 450 of them, though. Damn.
Offerings.
I think I'm going to purposely start mispronouncing Yahweh as Yahoo, since people can't seem to pronounce Baal correctly. So it's now Yahoo. If you can't say Baal.
And it's not technically Yahweh anyway, because it's supposed to be a word you can't say with vowels.
Like you can't say God's name, blah,
like
blah,
the Sith
blah,
word.
Yeah.
Like that Sith word. That
yada, yada, yada.
Or Voldemort.
Right,
you can't say Voldemort.
Yahoo because they can't say Baal, right? Like, Baal's important. I mean, come on. Let's keep our gods.
He's more of a badass guy.
Elijah mockingly says, "Where's your God? Why doesn't he consume the offering? Maybe he's on a trip. Maybe he's in the bathroom. Maybe he's sleeping. And what did they start doing? They started taking knives.
We're asking the same question. Hate to be that chica, but
where's your God?
They started cutting their faces, and to bleed. And this is, I think, the pagan origins of the Ashura of the Shiites. The Shiites, they stab themselves. They split their heads until they draw blood. And so we see this in 1 Kings chapter 18. Chapter 19, when he flees, Elijah goes down to Beersheba, and the angel of the Lord says, you have 40 days and 40 nights walking till you reach Mount Horeb. That had to have been in Saudi. But the point I'm saying is, getting back to Mecca and Medina, this is an Elijah moment. We are now playing a game that all American kids know. It's called Capture the Flag.
Yes.
The Muslims want Jerusalem, not because Jerusalem is holy for them, which it is not. Jerusalem is not holy for the Muslims. It is not.
Actually, they disagree. It's not the most holy city, but it is one of them.
This video is gonna put the atheist in numerous uncomfortable positions in which it's like, no, that's not what the Muslims say. Like, we don't think Islam is correct and all this, but it's like, no, it is holy to them. You know how you can find that out? Ask them.
I mean, they're not fighting about it just because for no reason.
For funsies. Oh, James, they just think it's fun.
Does this chucklehead not know that even modern, but ancient Jewish women and men pulled their hair out as a sign of grief and frustration? Like the whole thing of rending your cloak and pulling out your hair. Like, it was a very common motif in the ancient Near East and in many Mediterranean societies. Greek women at funerals would pull out their hair, and it was actually seen how devout you were and how your level of suffering was indicative by how much of your hair you'd pulled out and how bloody your scalp was. This guy's an idiot. Like, he doesn't understand the context of it. Like, is he going to mention that Jewish women and Jewish men did something very similar as far as in acts of contrition and anger? And it was seen as a cultural norm to show your frustration, anger, and in some case, bereavement.
People still do it today.
Actually, right, exactly. Pulling out your hair, right?
This
guy's an idiot.
It's a sign of frustration or anger, sadness.
Right. For those that are interested, I threw it in the private chat, and Amy can throw it out there. I wrote a 2-part article on the Roman. It's actually the Muslim conquest of Roman Syria. If you kind of want to know what's going on at the time that Muhammad, and then after Muhammad, and then the projection of not only the Islamic forces, Muslim forces taking what is modern day Syria, Palestine, and Egypt. There's a 2-part series I wrote that if you'd like to look at it. It's about 4,000 words or something like that. But it may be worth your time to understand the context that this gentleman's talking about. And he's got it all wrong, by the way. In early Islam, when we're talking like when it's just Muhammad, Jerusalem was the holy city. Muslims prayed to Jerusalem, not Mecca. It wasn't until Muhammad had failed to convert enough Jews, again, from this non-Jewish population that Islam projects, even though we know there were a lot of Jews in the region, like we just talked about. It wasn't until he'd failed to convert these really antagonistic Jews towards his movement, that he decided, well, now we have to have a new place to pray to. And that turns Mecca. So he literally faces the holy city 180 degrees, right? So, again, it was a very holy city, and then they rewrote it, and now... it's amazing how these people don't know their fucking history.
It's like number 4 now or something. It's on the list, but it's not number 1.
Right.
The Quran, the importance of Jerusalem is to deny it to the Jews and the Christians. And so if they get Jerusalem, their system wins. Now my contention through my book is, if we Judeo-Christians...
They held Jerusalem for how many centuries? How many centuries did the Muslims hold Jerusalem for?
And I don't want to take sides, but that is how war works. I just want to remind everybody that when
did Christianity and Judaism implode when it was held by the Muslims?
Yeah, they both went back and forth. All these guys, different religions, went back and forth, conquering each other. Good times.
Well, to be fair, for the longest period of time, it was controlled by the Romans. So maybe we should give Jerusalem back.
Sure.
I mean, by that standard, right? No, even as a Christian area, right?
Well, everyone just picks their time period.
From Constantine until the Muslim conquest. It's like 4, and then you have Christian kingdoms during the period of the Crusades. So, let's add up all, let's just let every people do perpetual war because your brother, sister's, aunt's, cousin's brother once 500 years ago lived there. Come on. This is crazy.
Makes sense to me. Stabba, stabba, stabba.
Then we capture the flag, and it is the termination of Allah, who I say is Satan, and sending the devil to...
It's about to get total Christian versus Muslim in here. Ding, ding, ding.
Equated Allah with the devil.
And it triggers them so hard.
If we could do in real-time editing across the screen, this would be like across the screen. It'd be Islam is Satan, right? Like we'd be in bold print. Like this is telegraphing. Like, do you think if you want to say really what this gentleman is doing and his host, they're projecting anti-Islamic rhetoric. This is pro-West, pro-Jewish, anti-Islamic propaganda.
I will say it puts us in the weird spot where it's defending, gosh darn it, Muslims, we don't think your religion is true, but we do have to say this guy is a douchebag.
Right.
We don't want it to be lied about or portrayed falsely.
Late night podcast.
As an atheist, I want to shit on all religions, right? Because that's fair. But it's not fair for Christians and Jews who believe in a bunch of mythology to shit on the other mythology, right? It's all magical thinking.
It's basically Moses is not real, but if you're going to argue what's in the book, then you have to argue what's in the book. Like, that's a completely different argument. Like, yeah.
The pits of hell for 1,000 years. So this is a victory, says Medina. Then we capture the flag, and it is the termination of Allah, who I say is Satan, and sending the devil to the pits of hell for 1,000 years. So this is a victory for the human race.
To the pit,
if we get Mecca and Medina. And we will get Mecca and Medina, because I believe the Arab Spring, which has totally overturned all these regimes in the Middle East.
False prophecy coming up.
Saudi Arabia.
Just 1 second, I got to make a comment. Did you hear what he said, though? The extermination of Islam is a benefit to the human race. As far as a religion, that's this guy's rhetoric. Think about it. Now, I remember in 1941, 39, 30, 40, 41, there was another chucklehead running around Europe saying that the extermination of another certain religion was problematic, right? Like
would be beneficial, yeah.
Right, yeah. Right. But this, again, this is about people thinking genocide's an answer to their existential problem. It's just crazy.
Well, it's making a lure so that you can say that I righteously am taking the land back because that's what it says in my mythos. But, I mean, this is the equivalent of like, where's my little book thing? I think that the land is mine because my super special friend said that it was, and he also said that you're evil. Signed, God.
And by the way, he said the only thing you're allowed to put on your pizza is pineapple. There are no other toppings. There is no bathroom. I am the bathroom.
Now, I think people that put pineapple on their pizza should be shot. So, I mean, that I can agree with them on that.
Maybe like re-education camps, maybe, where they could be like Mao style or Stalin style camps.
See, I'm so biased. I just like meat. Also, that's what she said.
I didn't promise to stay sober during this podcast because this is my one night off a week. So I'm going to be away for a second, grab a couple more beers and a shot of Ouzo. So I'll see you guys in a minute.
And we are going to dig into what is clearly wisdom. I always find the Messianic...
We'll get some Bible prophecy here.
The funny thing is like, I find Messianic Jews a little weird, but I don't know why I find them weird, because it's not any less weird than the Jews or Christians, but it just feels like trying to have cake too.
You can get
our religion.
You apply like maybe 5 or 6 New Testament verses, you put a slant on it, and it's not that hard to get to Messianic Judaism. It's really not.
Well, they all try and tie
there's a few verses you have to kind of all interpret them in one certain way, but if you do that, it's not an unreasonable position. But that's within the mythos. That's within.
And I will say, canon. I love reasonable positions, but we're gonna. If you just joined us, we are Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca. Isn't that surprising? We didn't even know we went there the first time, but now we're returning. We're going to have some fun.
Well, like Pat said, they were there just 1,000 years after what this guy's talking about.
Well, no, in the region, Semitic people being in the Middle East and that type of region.
Not unbelievable,
sure.
Right?
But it's just like the mass exodus of Jewish slaves. Were there Jewish slaves that happened to be in the region? Yes. Were there a mass amount of Jewish slaves
Millions
that got
of them,
freed, or whatever, thousands, or whatever the number was?
It says millions.
Freed? It said millions? Really?
Yeah, millions.
Don't
you remember we just got our censuses done, counting just the men, they were like thousands and thousands, so count the women and children. Yeah, it would have been easily over 1 million people.
Just a little bit kooky.
That left not a trace of evidence through their whole wandering the desert.
Didn't leave a trace.
Go figure.
And the Romans and the Egyptians, very meticulous note takers, didn't leave any notes. But all right, let's get back into the wisdom.
Yeah, and the day will come that even certain Saudis
keeps on coming. That's all I
go back to get the prophecy.
Beg
I want to hear his prophecy. I want to hear him prophesy.
If we get Mecca and Medina. And we will get Mecca and Medina because I believe the Arab Spring, which has totally overturned all these regimes in the Middle East, will reach Jordan, will reach Saudi Arabia, and they will come. Even certain Saudis will beg Israel to come in and save them from the other Saudis. And we're going to get Mecca and Medina.
It seems to me, Avi, that you're...
The Saudis are going to beg Israel to come in and save them.
What a weird notion to come. Like, I've heard Christians lament about the fall of Constantinople, but Mecca and Medina, like, I don't know.
Think about it. Imagine that the Saudis begging Israel to come in to send the military into Saudi Arabia. Yeah.
Also saying hi to John Vance. Saying hi to everybody. Woohoo!
Sort of replaying. I
didn't have a shot.
An ancient.
I didn't have a shot glass, so I have ouzo in a coffee cup. And
that
I'm
works.
Kind of pissed because it wasn't in the fridge, so it's at room temperature. So it
ouzo
doesn't go down quite as easy. Yeah, ouzo's a Greek hard liquor. So I mean, to all of you from my Jewish grandfather who's Greek, l'chaim.
To life,
girl dick.
That too.
Ooh, it tastes like black licorice, and it goes down kind of rough when it's warm. But
is it like absinthe?
That's definitely what he or she said. But we are going back.
Story that took place in the days of Moses at Mount Horeb, and there we find the rock that Moses struck, and we find a cave up on the side of the mountain.
Oh, that's the water rock that Jamie Russell
Elijah stayed when he went down to Mount Horeb. We find an altar at the foot of that mountain. In other words, all kinds of archaeological traces that the Jews were there and they were sacrificing on an altar at the instructions of Moses. And we find, in other words, an incredible drama played out there in that vicinity, and then in the desert itself. And we think of Mecca and Medina as being rather close by. And what you're saying, in a way, is that this whole drama, thousands of years later, is going to be replayed.
We are the generation that will see these things come to pass.
Yeah, it sounded like he was saying music lyrics for a second. We're
the generation, though.
We are.
A humiliation.
And it's very exciting. I think I'm just very
so exciting
at how
buy the book to read about.
I haven't seen any Jews until now come out and say what I'm saying. And where did
it would have been funny if he just stopped at that sentence.
I haven't seen any Jews until now.
I haven't seen any Jews until now.
Or come out.
The reason Jews aren't saying it is because they're not fucking idiots.
And it's probably dumb.
Even among the you don't hear anybody with credible skills or even certifications in the fields of archaeology, history, anthropology backing up your bullshit either, because you're just inventing shit out of whole cloth. I mean, yes, I gotta go fucking kind of nuts on this shit. If I find pottery from the 3rd century BC, that doesn't support fucking Moses, because you're saying Moses is like the 10th, 11th, 12th century BCE. But then to go, hey, they found pottery at this mountain, but it doesn't date to the period you need it to date. We know who lived in the region in the 3rd century.
It's only like 1,200 years off.
Right. This is fucking ridiculous. I'm glad I'm drinking, because I watched this video earlier with James. This is a fucking nightmare. This thing goes off the rails even more. So stand back and grab some ouzo.
Yeah. I no spoilers. Continue.
Cuddle up with someone and laugh.
From the Christians. And so this is a revolution. I'm hoping that the rabbis in Israel will adopt this theory.
I'm sure they'll be right on it. They'll be right on it.
That's the one thing that Israel wants to do right now. They would like to start a war in the middle of Saudi Arabia.
Send troops into Saudi Arabia.
Can you imagine America and Israel going to war in Saudi Arabia? I mean, not to be as politically incorrect as I can, but yeah, our oil buddies, we are definitely going to go over. That would be
by far the strongest military in that region.
Exactly, and that's the other thing. One of the strongest Muslim countries. This dude is like, it'll probably fall right to us. Yeah. Who was asking for Mecca and Medina anyway? So random. So
I mean, come on. I mean, he's got a book to sell, so he's got to try to pitch it. Yeah, he's got a book to sell.
But it's just the absolute imperialism. Like, I can't help myself. Okay.
My book? Christians know it's to be true. By the way, in the New Testament,
they know it.
Chapter 4, verse 25 of Galatians, it says, that Mount Sinai and Hagar, which are in Arabia. Josephus speaks very clearly that Sinai, the Ishmaelites are there, the troglodytes are there, the children of Keturah are there, the children of Esau are there. Everybody is there, and they're all one family.
Everyone was there.
They hate the
Bobby
children.
was there. Sarah was there.
Bob Barker, David Hasselhoff,
Frank, David Hasselhoff, Jason Momoa, everybody.
Jacob. Which, by the way, are the forefathers
resurrected Jeffrey Epstein.
Now, you're all familiar with Avi's 5 previous books.
Of course, I've read all of them.
When they rescued him, the whole suicide, the prison, they smuggled him out. Those damn, reptilian Jews.
It's the space lasers.
Yeah.
We've offered these together as the Avi Lipkin package.
My favorite.
Revival
you need to get that package.
Israel's Bible block.
Whoa. Christian, what was that?
Package. Christians revival for it.
Look at that.
To be fair, any book you go online with, if you go online and the book is fucking downloadable for free as a PDF, it lets you know that it's a fucking pile of shit. Like, I'm never going to give my book away for free online.
Also,
you're going to pay me $1.99 to read it online. I mean,
let me just state. Yeah, well, no, exactly. That means that he's just like chucking it.
Right. He couldn't sell any, so he just wants to get his name out there.
But let me just state
read my book
that I'm fairly sure the majority of Israelis would be like, this guy's crazy, okay? So I hope this video brings everyone together, because I'm pretty sure that if you asked anyone in Israel if they wanted Mecca and Medina, they would be like, I'm sorry, is this the right alley? Is this the right bus station? I'm going to go now.
The rabbis in Israel, they're going to get right on that.
Woohoo! What's up, Shogun? What is up, everybody? Hey, wrote a book.
What kind of book was that? I think Donald Trump has a book. I mean, everybody's got a book.
Well, and he that is proof. The funny thing about Donald Trump's book and Islam, they share a lot in common. In that Donald Trump book, he worked with the author to have it dictated. Donald Trump didn't write it, but if you ask the author, he'll say, well, this is the feeling. This is what he was saying, kind of thing. I got the vibe of it. That's kind of what Islam.
It's what he would say if he had the time to sit down and.
Exactly. Once again, not a fan of these holy texts, but I mean, if we have to use the holy text as canon, this guy is still off his rocker. So, like to bring everyone, atheist and theist, together against the schmuck.
Israel's survival, Israel's Bible block. We have
Israel's
another one.
Survival is conquering Saudi Arabia. I mean, it's just so subtle. Is fanatic Islam a global threat? Once again, I always worry when it's just one group against another group. The atheists are just lovingly saying, "You're all wrong."
They're all fanatical Islam, a global threat. I've shown you these books many, many times, and lots of you have ordered the Avi Lipkin package. Islamic
have they?
Almanac. Have they? And then Avi says this one.
That is the equivalent of having a GeoCities website for a cover, but okay.
Got Saddam, Yasser Arafat, Bin Laden. I don't know what the other picture was.
I think it was the towers.
An empty bottle of natural ice, maybe.
So you can see who he has kind of a fetish for. But it's always just, you want to know what's wrong with it, wrong with Islam.
I'm sure their phone lines are blowing up right now at this moment.
You ask a Christian. You want to know what's wrong with Christianity? You ask a Jew. You want to know what's wrong with Judaism? You ask a Muslim. You know, all we're saying, once again, is you're all right, ladies and gentlemen. We agree with all three of you.
One that he really enjoyed putting together, Islam prophesied in Genesis. But you told me just a minute ago that this is the one.
Yes.
This is the book, and that you really have been waiting to write all these years.
Right.
Beautiful cover. I mean,
this introduces revolutionaries.
I just want to say that we have finally found the Tesseract. If you're a Marvel fan, it's all making sense now. The cube.
I mean, that yellow background is just amazing. How much time they must have put into that.
I know.
I hadn't even thought of the Tesseract. That's actually really funny. I mean, I was thinking more like Kalima. Kalima.
I don't know. Like when I look at that, like that symbol in the top, I just imagine like that. It looks sort of like that eagle perched on top of the wreath. You know what I'm talking about? Just from like when you just look at it.
Yeah, it's all
lunacy, man. I will say, Shogun, I'm interested in Buddhism. I'm not a Buddhist, but sending love to Answers in Atheism, who is a Buddhist and an atheist. Because you can be. Buddhist. You can be both. But yes, moving on to the fun. We're more than halfway done the video. When we're done the video, we will be moving on to the open mic, so you can tell us about all of the wisdom that you have found. I guess technically you can call in the toll-free number, but I assume that's not working anymore. But who knows?
That you have not thought of, and it'll open your eyes as to Bible prophecy. It's called Return to Mecca. Yours for $19.95 plus shipping and handling when you call the 800 number on your screen. And I do hope you will. Avi's latest book is going to make you think. And I think in ways that you don't think you'll be thinking.
Ashley Madison customer support.
I'm sorry.
Something like that.
That was a fantastic sentence. Can we please hear that again?
Hope you will. Avi's latest book is going to make you think. And I think in ways that you don't think you'll be thinking.
It's going to make you think.
I wish I had a think counter.
Just ways that you think you don't think that you think.
To not only, Avi Limpkin will be a nearsighted person leading the blind, speaking to fucking credulous rubes, and that's what's going to be on the show tonight. Is lots of nonsense and hypocrisy.
Little bit, just a little bit, keeps us on our toes.
A healthy help in a bullshit.
That kind of book. It's revolutionary, I do believe.
Revolutionary.
I wanted to add
revolutionary.
My fifth book, the Black Book, the one about Islam prophesied in Genesis. This is about Islam prophesied in Exodus and the other books of the Bible.
Wow.
And my intention had not been to write the fifth book, but to write this book directly. But before I could write about Exodus and the other...
You always know that it's good and you're on board mainstream when he's like, I need to inform the other Jews about this. And you're like, yeah, good luck with that mainstream.
Oh, the rabbis, they're going to be on top of it.
I'm going to stop a moment, and I've got to go back and define who is God and who is Satan. And Satan is Allah.
Oh, okay.
There we go. If this was Yu-Gi-Oh, this would be the first card thrown down.
I mean, I know assholes because I'm an asshole. This guy's an asshole.
But this is like...
Take it from an asshole. He's an asshole.
As far as the debate community goes, understanding that the word, I guess came way before the YouTube debate community, but knowing that Allah is just Arabic for God, and that if you're Christian and you want to say God in Arabic, you're going to say Allah,
right.
This is just, oh my God, Arabic. It's scary. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of the Arabic nationalism that comes with a lot of fundamentalist Islam. Nonetheless, this is just, Islam is spooky. Arabic is spooky.
It's bad. It's the bad monotheism.
It's such a weird, like I said, it's putting the atheists in a weird position.
Yeah.
And I have a 3-year jail sentence in Switzerland for saying it. But
what? That came out of nowhere.
I'm all for extradition. Let's send this fucking asshole.
I just think it's
of
funny.
all countries, Switzerland. Oh, I mean, they don't extradite anybody anywhere.
Chocolate.
Satan is Allah. All the attributes of the Islamic system are the opposite of the Judeo-Christian system.
Oh, there's that exact
Allah is God of creation. Allah is the God of destruction.
Also, love how much they want to tie themselves to Judaism. Like the Christians so much want to tie themselves to Judaism. The Muslims so much want to tie themselves to Judaism. This guy is like, how dare they try to even do that? They're Satan. Holy moly. The Jews are like, we know that this is metaphorical, and we're just chilling, eating bacon at this point next to a menorah. Like, you guys have the wrong man.
For God
it's like the Christians. They talk about rebuilding that temple.
We talked about it, Amy. Like in my family growing up with my grandfather, we had menorah and like manger during Christmas and Hanukkah. Like my family didn't give a shit. Right. We knew it was all fucking make believe. Like at least my grandfather did. Like
because in America, more it's just about it.
But
well, I mean, it's like
grandma was.
Grandma was.
Grandma was Greek Orthodox, so she was a little more serious. But
Grandpa was
like, I'm a Jew. Who gives a shit? You know, it was like okay. Like my friends would come over during Christmas to be like, "Is that a menorah?" I'm like, "Yeah." And is that a manger? Yeah. Is that a crucifix over there? Yeah. That's my fucking family.
Yeah.
Is your mom a Protestant? Yeah. Does she smoke? Yeah. Is she divorced? Yeah.
No, because basically what happens with family.
Free AOL CD. Yeah.
Woohoo! Oh, I was gonna say I miss AOL, but I'm not sure. I want to verify that statement. But that's what family is. It's a bunch of people coming together and having good food. Sometimes we exchange presents. I all of those holidays towards that end of the year, it's just basically like happy present day. You're just having a good time with your family.
There's nothing better than putting tzatziki on top of a fucking matzah cracker when you're Greek.
Oh boy,
that's
that's right, baby.
Well, it's like you never hear you hear Christians going around talking about rebuilding the temple. You never hear Jews talking about it because they have no interest whatsoever in rebuilding that thing. None whatsoever. The Christians want to do it because they see it as something that's going to happen in prophecy, but I got news for you. It's never will it be rebuilt. It's not going to happen. So come up with a better prophecy.
I tried. They kind of kicked me off. Just kidding. Fuck it. I want to dig at the wall though. Like, the archaeology.
Have you been to the wall? Yeah.
No, no. My next big trip, a personal trip, not archaeological trip, but it'll be archaeological related. Is I'm going to go to the Hagia Sophia. So,
Constantinople. Wow.
Yep, Constantinople. We were not allowed to say Istanbul in my family. So
I was going to say Istanbul. Yeah.
Hey. But we're having fun. We're midnight ranting on return to Mecca. There are certain sentences that I love to say. This
like
is
Back to the Future.
Just like alien demons, and this is another one.
The monkey demon.
This guy, he just gets more triggered the further this video goes. So we're digging in. Pat? I think it's going to be both. He's going to say dumb things, which will then.
He's going to call Allah Satan again. Okay.
He's not the first. I mean, I've seen Christians do this before. It's silly. It's one of those things where it's like, don't make the atheist have to defend your stupidity. We don't believe in the God. So the fact that we're pointing out that Allah means God is just because we understand Google Translate. Like, it's a little bit different than trying to find the demon Satan that's trying to trick you. It's always a shtick. Everyone's got
together. We're the apple of his eye. He loves the Hindus. He loves the Buddhists. He loves the blacks, and he loves the Muslims.
He loves the blacks.
Whoa!
Did you hear that? Yeah.
Whoa! What? Can we think of one of those that's not like the other?
Right.
I'm sorry.
He conflated a race with a religion. Yeah.
What's different about black people in that scenario? Oh, right, they're black. Never mind.
Because
sorry,
they're black people. All those religions he mentioned, there are black people in them. So why do you have to carve out a special category?
But why is he going out of his
an
way?
asshole.
Yeah,
maybe. But wow, he basically, like, if he could take a paintbrush and he was like, no, I'm not trying to talk about this, and this. I'm only trying to do an in-group and an out-group to this one group. Isn't that great? No. That's the whole point.
Kick him in the balls.
You're saying the quiet thing out loud.
Or, well, he hasn't paid you enough for that.
Yes, exactly. That's a little bit more money. Well, just like Pat says, they get triggered when we call them racist. We get triggered when we call them prejudiced. So all we can do is say, hey, you're an asshole. Hopefully that'll sink in.
Stop being a dick.
Because all human beings are created in his image. Allah.
But not Muslims, not Allah. Okay. I mean...
Hates the Jews, wants them dead on Saturday. Hates the Christians, wants them dead on Sunday. Hates the Hindus, the Buddhists, and the blacks, wants them dead any day. And then, of course, the Muslims slaughter each other.
Firstly...
the Christian God, he'll just let them... he'll just torture them forever in his personal oven in the middle of the earth. So, but he loves them. He doesn't hate them. He does that because he loves them, right?
So let me put because he loves them.
Yeah.
Let me put the asterisk. Okay? Allah, the Muslim version of the Abrahamic God, they find it in the trilogy, has a giant hard-on for non-believers, okay? He is really, 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 really peeved that there could even be non-believers at all, okay? Let's put that asterisk over there. And it's a big one because it's like chapters filled. He has other chapters filled of people of the book. Like, he goes so out of his way to, like, set up a lemonade stand of, like, 50% off for Jews and Christians that it is not funny. So to say that he thinks Jews and Christians are evil is not accurate in any of the scripture. It's not. Well, it wouldn't be possible in the Torah or the New Testament, and it's not the record of the Quran. Once again, please stop making the non-believers have to correct you. Oh, my lordy. Right.
Name of Allah. So how can Allah be God? Allah is the opposite of God. So what's the opposite of God? Satan.
And I will say, we will be going into the open mic. We're now probably 2/3 done. After this, you can tell us about all the wisdom you just experienced.
How can Allah be God? Allah is the opposite of God. So what's the opposite of God? Satan. Another thing, our God.
First of all, not the opposite of God. I know you want to simplify that, but Satan was technically, you're a Messianic Jew or whatever the frig you want to call it, but within New Testament theology, wasn't Satan an angel? Wasn't he an underling? It wasn't the opposite.
Well, yeah, it depends on how but yeah, he was an angel of some sort.
The God of Abraham, Isaac,
I'm just trying to use their canon.
Another thing, our God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is the God of truth. Allah is known as Al-Makr. Al-Makr in Arabic means Allah is the greatest of all the liars and deceivers.
No, it's not. What are you even saying? You're just pulling this out of your...
And one of the virtues in Islam is to be a liar. It's called taqiyya. Means you're...
Once again, this is something that is not a good counter-apologist that atheists should use. You can lie if your life is threatened. It is not supposed to be that you lie. I feel bad defending the Quran. They really have a hard on, like I said, for non-believers. But if we have bad counter apologetics, that'll just push people further towards the religion.
Of good apologetics you can use to defeat.
Yes, exactly. There are good apologetics.
Commanded to lie to the infidel.
To lie in the cause of Allah.
Of Allah.
Yeah.
The problem is then they lie to each other. Because once you lie to the enemy, you lie to each other because it's an attribute. Judeo-Christianity.
This is basically, you're all liars.
Your word again.
But isn't the whole same like with Abraham? I think it's Abraham because I'm pretty fucked up. But isn't Abraham who lies about his wife saying instead she's his sister, right? So he doesn't get murdered, right? Like, isn't this
that goes back and forth a few times? Yeah.
Okay, Avi, like both religions lie when they need to. Okay, fuck it, like. Your holy book's full of shit too.
Yeah, well, he would have a leg to stand on if they were saying none of this is real. But he's just saying, no, my specific theology. Funny enough, that I don't think Christians, Jews, or Muslims believe in. So he's got a big uphill sell here.
I just want to say, though, I put it in the chat in my grandmother's kithiraki, Greek orzo dish is now in the chat, so you can see it and look at it, and you can make it at home on your own. So for those that doubt my Greek credentials, you can go fuck yourselves. So.
Woohoo!
Or you can pay Amy to do it.
Now we have about 10 minutes left, and on the cover of Avi's book is this place of pilgrimage for the Islamic world. I guess every Islamic male is commanded at least once in his life to make a pilgrimage to march around this cubical altar called the Kaaba.
By the way, a lot of women also go on the Hajj.
Okay, and
the
now,
GameCube.
On the inside cover, and we'll be showing you this of Avi's book, he's wearing phylacteries.
Yo, first second that I saw this, I thought it looked like he was a baseball player. But continuing.
Shaped scripture containers that are bound to the forehead and to the arm. Inside the back page of Avi's book, you have here a medieval
back page
of a couple of figures, yes. Also wearing phylacteries. Let's talk about the history of Jewish phylacteries. I'm sure that most of our Christian audience out there doesn't know exactly what they're for. Maybe doesn't even have much of an idea that they even exist. So let's start at ground zero and talk about the linkage between the Jews who wear phylacteries and this pilgrimage to Mecca.
By the way, if Christians have ever come to Israel, so I'm talking now to the people who've been to Israel, they've seen it on the flight. Yes. Because when people are still snoozing and the sun comes up as the plane is approaching Israel, you see the Orthodox Jewish men go to the back of the plane and they pray, and they put on the phylacteries. And this is a tradition that goes back 3,500 years. By the way, very important, and I learned this in the Jewish Theological Seminary. We studied the New Testament. Matthew 23, verse 5. Jesus is criticizing the Pharisees, and he says, for all their works they do to be seen of men.
He studies Christianity a lot for a Jew, but once again, that's the sell, the rub, the hybrid.
And they enlarge the hems of their garments or the tzitzit on their prayer shawls.
Damn it! I was hoping for something else to be enlarged, but okay.
And it's interesting indeed that today there are three types of phylactery. You have the size A, the size B, and the size C.
Choose wisely.
And so what Jesus was saying there, he wasn't saying don't put on the phylacteries. I'm sure Jesus did. What he was saying was that if you have the $200 phylactery and you have the $400 phylactery, $600 phylactery, which is humongous, don't spend your money on $600 phylactery. Spend it on the $200 and give the $400 to charity to feed the poor. So, but it's something, it's in Matthew 23, verse 5. So we know that Jewish men in those days wore this. We know that in the Greek Orthodox Christian tradition, there are priests who put on phylacteries. It's a slightly different Greek phylactery, but it all commemorates exactly
because they are protective amulets and believed to be magic. This is the fucking incredible thing. Do you know why you wear phylacteries? because the little inscriptions inside them protect you from fucking harmful magic. I mean, this is fucking Magic 101. Like, I don't want to start like being, hey, I study magic. It's my focus of my fucking dissertation and postgraduate research. But this is fucking magic. But Pat's hammered, so fuck it. It's magic, right? It's no different than, you know, pagan amulets, you know, Roman bulla, the bulla in Latin. This is fucking magical thinking, and just because ancient Jews wore little boxes with scripture in them doesn't mean that it wasn't fucking magic. Your tradition is seeped in it. Just shut the fuck up and not make it sound like it's special. It is superstition worn where people can visibly see it. That's what. Never mind.
And I just want to send a reminder out there. We are trying to hit a achievement, a landmark. I don't know what it's exactly called, but we're trying to have 3 people in the community chat at once. We're trying to get more people over there. So if you like streaming on Twitch, we are actually also looking for more mods. So feel free to tell me either on here or on Discord or in Twitch itself, and I'll mod you up, especially if you are one of our community awesomes here. Awesome. Community regulars, trying to think what the word is. But we're looking for more mods over there and sending love over there. And all right, let's jump in. We only got a little bit more left before we switch into the open mic. If you just joined us, we are Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca. We kind of like hearing views out on I would say the fringes, but it's interesting when you live in a country where so much of the country thinks that the world was created in 6,000 to 10,000 years. I guess this is what you get for the fringe, right? We get people like this. And woohoo! All right, we're moving right along.
Meaning for Christians as well.
So my question, and I'll ask it for everybody who's watching, why in the world would you put on, strap a little wooden box with scriptures from Deuteronomy on the inside
GameCube
and
right
attach that to your left arm and to your forehead? Why would you do that, and why would it be cube shaped?
Perfectly cube shaped. And so the contention in my book is that when Moses came to Pharaoh, and remember, Pharaoh was God. Pharaoh was God in Egypt to the Egyptian people. He created the Nile, and he created this, and he created that. And who's Moses? Moses is a guy who stutters. It's very hard to talk. And God says, give the people a sign. And the phylacteries were the sign. He gave Pharaoh the signs. You remember his rod became a crocodile or serpent, ate the other crocodiles. Right. Mm-hmm. And the leprosy in the chest. These are all signs. Later the 10 plagues. And what's Moses that? Gave signs to the elders.
Did your rod become a crocodile or a serpent?
Oh, yeah, baby.
And Moses gave signs to the people. You're talking about primitive pagan people who were shepherds. And they're saying to Moses, well, why should we listen to you? You know, and so this phylactery has 4 pouches, 4 parchments.
Oh, my.
The first 2 are Exodus 13. Then you have Deuteronomy 6 and Deuteronomy 11. Exodus 13, we are still in Egypt. We are still in slavery. We're about to flee. But Exodus 13 talks about sign on thy arm and frontlets between thine eyes. And, I know young people won't know the word that I'm going to say now, but there's a word that older people like you and I remember, which is, gyroscope. The gyroscope takes us directly in the direction we have to go. And Moses is leading the children of Israel out of the pyramid triangular system to the cubic square system of freedom.
Cubic square system of freedom.
And again, Moses says to Pharaoh, let my people go.
And as Amaretto said, so Borg freedom, is that what you're telling us?
Borg freedom, yeah.
So that they may circle me in the desert. The other 5 times, let my people go so that they may serve the Lord in the desert. But the first one is they should go around in circles. Now, Hajj is a pilgrim to Mecca. Hag is the Egyptian pronunciation. Hag in Hebrew means a holiday or going around in circles. And so the first meaning really meant, let my people go so that they may sacrifice to the Lord at the Kaaba in Mecca, which there was no Mecca at the time, which is the Black Stone. Jethro was the high priest. Moses was the understudy of the high priest, and so he knew why spiritually he was taking the children of Israel out of slavery from the pyramid system to the square system.
Because God told him so.
Then, of course, as you know, God finally says, "No, you're not going to turn right. You're going to turn left. Instead of going to Mecca and Medina, we turn."
Yo, God is the worst backseat driver ever.
Yeah.
To like, the Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, which, as you said very correctly,
you know that
is within.
Sorry, you know Moses was a dude, because only a dude could be fucking so stupid to like go somewhere. Like, I'm married. Like, after the first 12 to 16 months, my wife would have been going, "Do you know where you're fucking going?" But only Moses, only a dude could be so sure of where he's going. He's like, "No, honey, I fucking got this."
40 years.
You run out of gas like 10 to 12 fucking times, right? Like, you know, "Hey, honey, are you sure that's not our off ramp? I got this."
That's 40 years of no gas stations.
Hey.
Yeah. Stop and ask for directions.
I can just see Moses. Moses has got to be the biggest fucking misogynist ever. He's like, hey, shut the fuck up. Who's driving? Who's fucking driving here? It's fucking Moses. That's right. If I wanted fucking Miriam to drive this fucking car, I'd be a fucking woman. That's right. So Moses fucking driving here. Let's fucking keep going. Sorry.
Go in the back seat and make me a sandwich.
And see, Urban.
Make me a fucking sandwich.
Era Bench says, "I'm a left-wing Jewish atheist Israeli, and I must say this person is real garbage." Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't think there's I think this is going to the one person to unite the Muslims and the Jews. They're like, no, we don't get what's going on here. What is this guy saying?
Nobody knows.
It's odd.
Buy the book.
I mean,
buy the book. That's
where
right.
do you find this guy? Like, you'd call 1-800 a fucking idiot. I mean, you gotta try hard to find a guy like this.
This was a James.
It's a labor of love. It is a labor of love for me to find these wonderful tidbits of videos to bring into our hearts.
We have to.
Thank you, James, because. Right, thank you.
Find the back alley of the internet.
The back alley of theism, religion.
Yeah, there can't quite be a Christian dark web, so they just this is just kind of the gutter.
Can you see it? He's out in the alley. He's got a plain brown bag. He pulls out a video cassette and he goes, "Hey, I got some video for you," right? You know, you're thinking it's porn. You go home and it's this shit. I mean, your whole fucking life.
Hey, I got a seminar for you to look at.
Oh, exactly. You can come here and buy my DVD on Mecca being actually Jewish.
Amy,
but
the whale has a 15
was in the fucking 5th century. See?
If you don't think about it, it totally makes sense.
Buy the book.
Five of Eilat and Aqaba in the Red Sea.
And so the key word is Midian. That's where Mount Horeb is.
Remember, he's doing a good job of pretending to be that this is interesting and insightful.
Well, you know, I half believe he probably is interested in it because these are the people. I don't even know if sycophant's the right word. This is his group. These are the people. To the Christians, they're probably like, oh, yes, we finally have a Jewish person that agrees with the majority of the Christian stuff.
You know what it reminds me of? You know when you watch those infomercials and there's the guy peddling the product and then there's the host and the host has to like appear to be a little skeptical, like, I don't think you could make all 36 of those dishes with one pan. And then they're just like, oh, wow. Yeah.
Wow, are you telling me really for 3 orders of $89.95 I could have a towel that never ends? Amazing.
But wait, Amy, we're gonna knock one of those payments off, and we will get a 15-foot phallus surgically implanted on your forehead.
That's so funny that you said that. I was going to say I'm actually possessed with a 15-foot, and we're going to go back to the video.
And of course, is right on the edge of the Saudi Arabian desert.
Right.
Whoa. What?
Sinai, Mount Horeb, which, as you said very correctly, is within sight of Eilat and Aqaba in the Red Sea.
And so the key word is Midian. That's where Mount Horeb.
Oh, I remember. That was my favorite place to go to in Final Fantasy VII.
Midian, of course, is right on the edge of the Saudi Arabian desert.
Right.
Look it up in a map. It's amazing. For years, that whole geographical relation.
It's the closest we're going to get to science.
Zoom in closer.
Actually just showing a map.
Zoom in closer, please.
Hip has sort of lain dormant.
Closer.
Now suddenly it's awakening. A lot of the map in your Bibles, you look back there and it'll have Mount Sinai over in the Sinai Peninsula. Wrong map, folks.
Right.
The map is being redrawn in our day, and this is what Avi is really talking about.
And by the way, one of the most ironic things is, that unfortunately there are many rabbis who have a disdain for Christians and Christianity. But if Helena, the mother of Constantine, said, well, guess what? It's in
that because they're Jews. I wouldn't say a disdain, but there's a reason rabbis. They're not Christians. Because
they don't
Jews.
Agree with it, yeah.
My lordy. I feel like at the end of this episode, we're going to have to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G. How far back do we need to go in these lessons?
Jews are typically not out there proselytizing or trying to convert other people. Typically, Judaism is one of the hardest things because usually they're very reluctant to take on a convert because it can be a hard process to find a rabbi who's willing to take you on, depending on your circumstances.
I have no idea if this is true. This is a rumor and probably a myth. But the myth is you have to go to 2 rabbis who tell you no, and then the 3rd rabbi will let you in. I'm pretty sure that's a rumor and a mythos. But
I have heard of people who, left Christianity for Judaism talk about their conversion to Judaism stories, and they're usually told that they had to actually talk to a couple rabbis, and the one rabbi is like, oh, you're going to leave one major monotheistic religion for another. Maybe next month you'll turn to Islam. How do we know you're, Yeah, it's like a process. They want to make sure you really know what you're doing. Whereas like most Christians are very, they want to try to convert everybody. Same thing with Muslims.
They proselytize.
The Sinai Peninsula, and the Jews say, yeah, fine, that's fine with us. It's not. It's not in Sinai. Sinai was pharaonic Egypt. Pharaoh had his armies there. They had mines. There was an Egyptian presence. The Israelites were in Arabia. And Mount Sinai, as it says in Galatians 4:25, Mount Sinai, which is in Arabia.
The book is called Return to Mecca, yours for $19.95 plus shipping and handling. In just a moment, I'm going to ask Avi about the title. And I want to go back and read the title, Return to Mecca. You're going to find some really stimulating material in here. And
so stimulating,
stimulate me. That you don't have. You students of Bible prophecy, I think, will be very excited to read these things. We're also offering, of course, as we have for quite a while, and I don't know how many years it's been, Avi, that we've offered these books. We lump them together. They are called the Avi Lipkin package. We have sold hundreds of these.
I'm sure you have.
Continuing to offer them because they're still popular. The Avi Lipkin package, $49.95 plus shipping and handling. This book
like the price of Ken's seminar.
$19.95 plus shipping and handling.
And these are old videos. This is a lot of money now.
This is like 2011, 2012.
Oh, really? Just bad resolution, but still funny.
Screen 1-800-475-1111. We have about 2 minutes. Return to Mecca. What does that mean? It's in plain language that we can grab hold of and take with us.
And I'm pretty sure this is his wrap up. And so, what we are going to do actually is I'm going to get the link in chat so we can send it into the streamosphere and you can join us. We are Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca. You have just heard the other side for the case that Moses visited Mecca and that I guess we should, again, the Jews, Western society, whatever his imperialistic hot, wet fantasy dream is.
Take over Saudi Arabia.
Take over Saudi Arabia, which is so funny because that's the joke in the Western Hemisphere, is one of the friendliest Muslim countries to Western society in terms of allies is Saudi Arabia. I mean, they don't treat. They just started allowing their women to drive, so not
They're
really
slowly becoming more
happy with that. But
liberalized,
I guess I'm happy they let them drive, but I'm not happy with.
They're moving along.
Hopefully,
Moses
all of them
was on
will.
Brokeback Mountain. Probably. He should have. He would have got more done on that mountain. Than
That's hot, baby. Moses and Noah.
I wonder if they're going to make a movie called Brokeback Mountain Sinai.
Yeah, like a
Broke
sequel.
Sinai.
Boom. Right.
Moses and
two
Aaron.
young Muslim shepherds go up the side of the mountain. You know.
Moses and Aaron
longingly at each other.
Candlelight.
We're done.
And all right, getting that ready right now. Sending it. It does not matter if you were on Facebook, if you were on Twitch, or you're on YouTube, because you can join us out here on the Streamosphere as we finish up the opposing view side of Return to Mecca. We've had our special guest host, Pat Lowinger, down below with us having fun. Oh, man. So much wisdom. So much.
The full 15 feet of wisdom. It's amazing. Yeah.
Oh, I believe that the Arab Spring, which a year ago just started, it has
that's how you know
Asia,
the date
to Libya, Egypt, to Yemen. It's now in the middle of its process in Syria. I believe there are signs already in Jordan. I believe that the Arab Spring will come to Saudi Arabia. When it comes to Saudi Arabia, there will be such a civil war in Saudi Arabia, and it'll be Shiites versus Sunnis. It'll be Sunnis versus Sunnis. It's going to be Osama bin Laden Saudis versus the more secular Saudi, not secular, the ones who believe in cooperating with the West. And what's going to happen is, I believe those that are cooperating with the West are going to send out an SOS to the United States, come and save us.
Oh yeah.
And the United States is going to say to Israel, you're going to have to help us on this one. So why don't we occupy certain parts of Saudi Arabia, and why doesn't Israel occupy certain parts?
What the hell? Like escalation, just
United States and Israel occupying Saudi Arabia.
This guy's just like fucking Trump, drawing a little fucking with a Sharpie. He's like drawing Israel, and he's drawing a little map, and he's including Saudi Arabia and Israel's borders.
We'll get that.
Fucking wishful thinking.
United States, wishful thinking. Yeah. Of course, now spoiler alert: none of that actually happened.
None of that happened.
The Saudis were not begging for Israel and the United States to invade.
Yeah.
For anybody who had any doubts, yes, I'm a liberal. I was making fun of Trump, because that's just the fucking reality of it.
I think they got it. Yeah, I think they.
Yeah. I wanted full disclosure.
Full disclosure, yeah.
Saudi Arabia to save these Saudis who are going to be wiped out by the other Saudis or the Iranians, whoever. And so what I see happening here is a political trend. And what I'm doing in my book is to give the biblical reasons why it makes sense. Return to Mecca means the return of the Israelites to Mecca, Medina, and Mount Sinai. And, again, I know there are many Jews and Christians who don't like what I say, but I lump the Jews and the Christians together.
Oh, we know you do. We know you do. You've been doing it. Yeah.
Right tag at the end. He's like, it may not be the most mainstream Jewish and or Christian view, but
yeah, the Jews don't like it. Some of the Christians don't like it, but I'm going to do it anyway.
Well, I know it's really unpopular, but I really like the way the sound of the word, the hyphenated word Judeo-Christian sounds. Although it's totally fucking ahistorical and really, I know you're a Christian. You tried to fucking murder my entire fucking people during the Middle Ages and after, but it's all good now. So how about we just make up a new word and Judeo-Christian, because we really fucking hate those Muslims. So yeah, let's go.
Can I make you alone? Let me make you alone.
And when we take Mecca and Medina, I believe the borders of Israel
look at Genghis Khan over here.
Down from Lebanon all the way to Mecca and Medina, there will be more Christians also moving to Israel who are married to us, who are part of our families. I believe that the border.
How do you get more Christians in Israel from?
They're going to be moving there to Saudi Arabia.
To be fair, that's the kind of bullshit my grandfather peddled to my grandmother. I mean, I know you're hot. I'm a Jew. Let's get married. It won't matter. I mean,
there you go.
She's like, okay, you're a really nice guy. Doesn't matter you have the tip off, but it's good.
Borders will go, according to Deuteronomy 11, from the Nile to the Euphrates and from Lebanon to Saudi. And so return to Mecca means this is the biblical roots for why this is about to happen.
Avi Lipkin, always interesting, always controversial, and by the way, always on the cutting edge. He's a great
cutting edge.
He believes that this book was inspired. He told me that he really believed he was guided to write this book. I
guided,
think
Amy, by
Avi,
God.
You must come and see us again.
Always do.
Avi Lipkin from Israel. Gary Stearman, wishing you a great day in the Lord. I hope you will read this book. And remember,
because God just gave him such insight because his prophecies are so accurate.
Wait. Nope, nothing there. Just my ceiling. He told us to keep looking up. Though, funny enough, that hand symbol is a Muslim hand signal as he leaves. Oh, man, they have no sense of irony. My lordy.
None whatsoever.
Well, that was fun.
Folks.
Religion, I know. Man, what a way to bring everyone together to be like, no, that's really stupid.
That's pretty dumb. Yeah. Like Moses went to Mecca. No, he didn't.
Yeah. No, he didn't. But in my own defense, I was given a short notice, and I already planned on drinking tonight, so I had to conflate these two plans together. I actually think we should think about having a show called Drunk History. I know it's already been done.
Yeah.
I think we get 4 or 5 historians, atheist historians on YouTube to poke shit at Christian history.
Send me some of that orzo or whatever that is you're drinking.
Ouzo, come on, you.
Orzo's pasta.
Orzo's pasta. They're not the same.
But okay, we're going to be talking about the video a little bit longer, but the link is in chat. So if you would like to join us, feel free to join us in live stream, and you can tell us whether I was going to say disagree, I assume, but who knows? Maybe you agree with everything we just heard tonight.
We'll be walking in Saudi Arabia any day now. Any day now. They'll be doing sacrifices at the Kaaba. I like Randolph Richardson's version of the Kaaba better.
But in all seriousness, I'm having a sober moment. Like if imagine we're in Saudi Arabia and we're watching this on TV and we're hearing these two people talk and we're already very skeptical and maybe a little bit paranoid of Western intentions militarily and politically. This shit will freak you the fuck out. Like if you were on the fence about anti-Western sentiment, this can push you the fuck over.
This is what they're thinking. This is how they're talking about us. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, this show was, 30 minutes. Well, we drug it out longer, but when I watched it earlier after James,
about 30 minutes. Yeah.
This is anti-Islamic Western hate speech, and
I will say, we're lucky that this guy's views aren't mainstream. Now, maybe disliking Muslims or disliking certain prejudices, not disliking prejudice, being prejudice, sure, I am very glad, but you're right. If this guy's views were the more mainstream views, that's how you start. That is how you start.
I do think
even more culture wars or whatever the hell we're in than right now.
I do think that there are more like views like this, like teeming under the surface, but a lot of them just don't come out and really express it. But I do think there's more of a current under there of that type of thought process. But yeah.
And I wonder how many people agree with this stuff. I mean, I wonder how many people are sitting at home watching this video. I mean, we're joking about it, but I wonder how many people are sitting there going, man, this guy's got a fucking point. Like, this just changed my worldview.
Well, that's what I was thinking when I saw it. It's like, well, they apparently thought this was a good guy to put on to a video, to make a video about it, to promote his book and whatnot. Now, the video has like two or three times as many downvotes as upvotes, so it just does tell you that most of the people watching it on YouTube don't agree with it.
I'll tell you, it's also a good demonstration in knowing your audience, because James originally sent me a clip, and on that video, it was almost all upvotes to downvotes.
Oh, yeah, right.
And so it was on a Christian channel, very receptive. It then got the full video for everyone to see, and it got ripped apart by everyone that obviously wasn't a fan of that channel. And so I will say, I've talked about this with mods. I've talked about this with James, especially as we grow larger, the concept of platforming, because I used to think it's such an abstract thing, but the notion that really giving sparks to ideas that you really don't want to give sparks to.
Right.
And so it is a balance, because we kind of, as a comedy funny, haha, we want everyone to be having a good time out there. We are searching for kind of the out there views. And at the same time, we're trying to hope that we can bat them away. So that we're hoping that the skeptics that we bring on, we hope James and myself, I call ourselves Team Skeptic here, all the skeptics that come on during the open mic and everything. I like to think that by batting the ideas down, you actually kind of like an immune system.
Right.
If they were just to come across it in a void, they may actually go, especially if it's very dry and you're not listening to all the technical terms that are going.
If you're just listening broadly, not really examining it, if you're just soaking it all up,
right,
it could sound enticing. And so this may be a way of going, if you come across it, to go, I've heard this shit before. This is all nonsense. Right.
I don't know if it's the combination of ouzo and beer I've ingested this evening, but I'm waxing philosophical. And, like credulity, the, believing in things, the propensity to believe in stuff.
The ability to believe, right.
It's kind of like alcohol, You can get along in life with none of it. You can have it occasionally. You can be a little credulous now and again, and it probably won't hurt you. But if you're like a believer, then you're getting drunk on credulity every day. You are a credulaholic. And if you're a credulaholic, you need to really take some time to evaluate yourself. Now, I'm not saying I have a drinking problem, but if you have a credulity problem, you need to realize that this shit that got peddled this evening is the kind of thing that a lot of people will not question. They'll believe, they won't research, they won't understand history, they won't even understand the geopolitical context in which this guy's making these statements, and they'll think they're right. They'll manifest whatever this gentleman says, not only to Christian nationalism, which we know which is the manifestation that we've seen here in the United States in the last, several years, but we'll see an increased, because it's already present, but an increased propensity to engage in anti-Islamic or Islamophobia. This is very problematic. And just so you know, if anybody has any doubts, these are the same kind of people that are going to, bomb abortion clinics and do things like that, because credulity and faith to them is a manifestation that's beyond just tangible. It is something they have to do in order to prove that their devotion to some mythical creature actually is something that will change their entire life.
Well,
that's it.
A lot of theists, they're always looking for a way to bring their faith into reality, because they read it in the holy books and it has very little useful application in reality. So they try to fit current events. And I mean, this is like where you get the whole end times Bible prophecy. They try to take current events and political situations and kind of make it fit. And when you do that, you end up with some pretty crazy situations like this. Like you've got a biblical model, and you just try to fit reality into that, and you end up warping. And yeah, it doesn't go good. And
And so we will go for another probably 15 to 30 minutes. If nobody comes in, we're just having fun. And then we will head over to the Discord for some community action. But it has been a great time. We have been Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca. If you'd like to join us, link in chat.
In the chat, Shogun made a comment that yes, drinking ouzo and beer, particularly Italian beer and Greek ouzo, may be a cultural faux pas, and I apologize for that. And maybe I do have a problem as far as not drinking
kind of beer
Greek
is that?
beer and drinking ouzo.
Is that Peroni?
It's Peroni. So yes. Why sully my palate with anything less, right? But Greek beer is shit, so we don't drink beer and ouzo.
I've never had Greek beer. Is there Greek beer?
Well, there's a reason it's not imported in the United States because it's pretty much ass.
Oh.
And that's a bad thing, right? I just want to point that.
Well, yeah, right. So there's a beer that's very popular among Greeks. It's called Star, right? And they import it occasionally for like Greek festivals and everything. And I remember my dad drinking it and go, "Well, it's Greek, and it's beer, but it doesn't mean it's good." It's kind of like
even they don't like it. They drink it, but
yeah, it's like it's all right. It's like getting I don't know. It's like getting messed up on Manischewitz as a kid. It does the job.
That would be that is pretty funny. Yeah, just sitting there over the little tablecloth.
Drinking Manischewitz.
We'll be fine. Oh, my favorite part was the bread. I
used to call it Manischewitz.
Yeah. Well, I always, cousins were having bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and I'd get hammered, right? Mm-hmm. And I without doubt, usually after you eat too much food, you drink warm Manischewitz, and you're 13 or 14 years old and you're chumming it in the bushes. And parents always knew that the kids were hammered, and they hoped you were staying downstairs and staying out of trouble because you're teenagers, and you weren't allowed to come upstairs, but they knew you were hammered. So stay downstairs, kids. You don't come upstairs because you'll wander off in the neighborhood and get hit by a car. Yeah, that's good times. Good times.
Woo-hoo! All I remember about my bar mitzvah was good food. Good food. Oh, woohoo! Yeah. That's right, baby. We are streaming Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. But if you would like to join us, the link is pinned. And this type of it's Christian nationalism. It is a retcon of what is actually there, first of all, and it's something no one's asking for. It's like trying to throw a firework into a party.
Completely unsolicited.
Yeah.
No one's asking for it.
To be fair, when these discoveries of this ancient kingdom, Jewish kingdom, the Himmerite kingdom was found, it created a lot of problems just with the actual archaeology. There were people in Saudi Arabia and other groups that really were unwilling to admit that all this epigraphy, which in rocks and other stonework that were in the region, were problematic. I mean, there was worry that people were going to destroy this cultural heritage, right? Because it pertained to Christians and Jews, and you don't want to have in an Islamic country these projections of previous Jewish identity, pre-Islamic identity that was largely Jewish in the region, right? That was problematic enough, right? And that's the actual archaeology, history, and historical analysis, and all the people doing good work on the ground. Then you have nutbags like this guy who take a little bit of the few nuggets out of here, stir it up, create and foment some anger and some Islamophobia, and they project it, and it just makes it much worse even than it's already going to be. And it's
buy my book, Pat.
There's a reason that, buy my book.
Buy this book.
Come on every day.
Buy the book. It'll explain it all. You'll understand it then. Buy the book. It'll explain it all. You'll understand it then. Oh boy. What happened?
I don't know what that is. So no one wants to come on and talk to the drunk historian.
I was gonna say Christians, Jews, Muslims,
anybody who's been wanting to challenge Pat,
atheists.
Let's get the pagans in.
Mm-hmm.
Atheists,
pagans,
whoever.
Amaretto.
If you engage in magical thinking, now is the time to come on and engage with the guy who doesn't believe in magical thinking.
I will say we just started a brand new series, brand new show. Call Me Skeptical, where you can actually call in and tell us where we are wrong. Sup, Harry? Saying love to everybody in chat.
Oh, I have the sword next to my name. Is that a mod?
That's right. That means you are officially a Twitch mod, James. Spirit. Welcome aboard.
The Sword of the Spirit from Bob Larson on his shirt. Not today, Satan. Not today. Not today, Allah.
We have a store in the works right now with all the logos, and I want to get specifically a shirt that says "Today, Satan," and I would also like one that says "Yesterday, Satan," or "Tomorrow, Satan."
The awoke one has a question there for Pat. There you go.
How do you do this?
Well, I'll be honest. I teach it on Thursdays. I teach at night, so I kind of sleep in the morning, and then I teach it. My class gets out at 9. So yeah, I jump on. I do want to, since we're doing some promotion and stuff like that, I did put a video in today in Western Cornwall, a site known as Carn Gluzi. It's a late Neolithic and through Bronze Age burial mound that was reused.
Discovering History channel.
Mm-hmm. So I threw it in there for you if you guys want to watch it. And I apologize for the video quality, but I shoot it with a small portable, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere, so stand by.
It's a small camera.
Yeah. So sometimes I shoot it with my phone. Sometimes I shoot it with my Nikon. My Nikon does better, but the problem with the Nikon is I have to hold it in one hand, and it's a larger lens and all that. So phone, a high-end phone now shoots as good a video as most cameras anyway.
Oh yeah,
DSLRs and other stuff.
I will have to show off. I do love this shirt, even though I'm not pagan, but I am wearing my basic witch shirt.
That's the Starbucks?
Can't help myself. It is the Star. Yeah, exactly.
So basic witch, no extras. You have the basic magic package. You can do some hexes, some invocations, none of the really crazy stuff. No bringing people back from the dead. No flying over the moon. None of that shit. But basic witch stuff
just the basic starter kit. Exactly.
The Red Sea.
You have to wear Uggs in order to get onto the broom.
Having dogs and cats live together.
And yes, I did. I was going to say there's 2 different types of translations. I had to read the Hebrew, the actual Hebrew, but then once you're going for your bat mitzvah, they give you the option to take the pressure off, and they have the English translation of the Hebrew along with it, because you're already sweating lady balls up there. So I always joke about the best thing about the bar mitzvah is you get to see your mom have the good cry. I can't believe my child is becoming an adult. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. I'm an adult. Can I go play Pokemon now?
Yeah, right.
My penis.
Hey, can I stay out past midnight with my friends on my, it's you can't drive, but you're an adult.
All right. I didn't believe in sinning, but I'm going to forgive that. I'm going to forgive. No, I wear Uggs. I don't wear Crocs, but I do wear Uggs. I wear black versions of Uggs, so they're a little bit cooler. I tell myself that. That's why basic witch.
Emeretta, right?
Right, baby.
I'm all into witchcraft. I mean, I don't believe any of it, but it's fascinating to study.
That is completely how I feel about mythic structure and fantasy and just that entire genre. Also, send in love, Soldier of Science. Send in love. I know we should show her comment. The Awoken One. Everybody. Everybody. Oh, good 2000 songs.
Is it good though?
Yeah. I'm sure whoever wrote the song was good. That's right. I should be doing more stand-up. I am working on a bit. I feel way more prepared than I did for the bit a few days ago because I'm actually studying about Afghanistan. I just wanted to vent because I think comedians are good at dealing with hard subjects, but it's something that I didn't want to just be. We have enough Americans giving idiotic opinions about that subject, so I want to become an informed idiot, and then I'll give my. Oh, but the open mics are open. They're back open for a little bit. Who knows how long? But it's cathartic. It is cathartic, just like this, just like our call. The call-in show was fantastic last night.
Oh, that was a lot of fun.
It was just a lot of fun. We have 1 or 2 more shows actually still upcoming. We have a Patreon-inspired show that we should be trying to get. That's a Q&A show or say something funny. So you can ask something about James and I, or if you don't say, you can just, now's your chance to get a joke out. We will say it on air live. So that show is in the works. And then Pat's episode 3, the trilogy, baby, of Talk Skeptic to Me is in pre-production right now.
Yep. And I want to point out that the Awoken One actually is correct. There is more evidence that there were witches in Salem there is for the resurrection of Jesus. That comment is absolutely 100% a historical fact. So
that's true. At least there were people that claimed to be witches, right? And so,
yeah. And there were court trials and documentation that we can look at. And
verdicts, unfortunately.
And bodies. Yeah, we actually have bodies of witches that were executed, right?
Back when it was super serial. At this point, it's a T-shirt. It's been so watered down, but yeah, back when they took it.
Isn't that kind of scary? Like we're talking about witches kind of in a joking manner, but there were actually women drug out of their houses and brought
absolutely
executed for. And we're joking about a Starbucks.
We can't help it. So I see both sides to it. I see the adorableness of it, and yet I understand the historical context of thousands of years ago. Women mostly, not all, but mostly lost their lives because of it.
Well, there's a reason,
ladies and gentlemen.
We're purposely marginalized for this, right? This was also a method of social control. This was it's amazing how the women who live on their own or slightly outspoken are then accused of witchcraft.
Oh yeah, great way to get rid of the women that are a little bit too rebellious or think that they want to be in leadership positions. Whoomp.
Right. Yeah, and since we're going to talk about it,
yes, and I think
I would like to recommend the following book.
Oh my
students on it. It's the Oxford Illustrated History of Witchcraft and Magic by Owen Davies. Excellent text. If anybody wants to look at a general purview of the overall history from antiquity to the Middle Ages and even into the modern period, this is probably the best introduction you can get, and it comes in at a 300 pages or so with the index, so probably 290 reading. So again, if you want to take a look, these are the kind of books you need to actually grab and look at and survey.
And actually have a book outside of the Bible or the Quran.
Imagine that.
Nah, it's funny. I actually highly recommend reading the Bible and the Quran, if you want to separate into the Torah, the New Testament, and the Quran, because then we actually know what we're talking about. It's nice to actually have more in-depth conversations with believers because I've actually read it. I'm only up in depth into numbers, but I'm so happy we've been doing the Skeptic Bible Study. Just a lot of stories that I would have never read or never really taken the time to understand if it was just my Hebrew school raising.
Right. Well,
and I will
understand
go.
The anthropology and historical context is really important. Understand that these are texts that let you get a look into what people thought about their culture and identity in antiquity.
Yeah, it actually gives, like I was trying to say, at least in the opener, and I probably learned from you or someone like you, is that it's more of a historical view of people at the time. The joke I was trying to work on is it becomes self-fulfilling history, is that it may not be the actual historical events. Moses may not have been real, but if you want to understand how Jews viewed the time period, it's a great way to get a view into their actual minds. And so just got to suss out those two different things. And I will say to Shogun, we aren't monetized, but we're getting there, baby. We got to hit the road to 1,000. We are like 3 times the recommended watch hours. I will say, sending so much love to all the viewers really are watching the content. So that makes mine and James's and Pat's heart swell. So sending love to all of you there. And we have, not that I'm counting or anything, but we have 275 more people, more lovely viewers out there like you, and we will be monetized. So we're on the road, having fun. Appreciate every subscriber, really do. And so we'll go on for 15, 20 minutes, and then we're going to wrap up here. James has currently been summoned by Satan, the goddess, to redecorate. So
I don't want to steal your thunder on your, is it 725 subscribers? Is that where you're at?
Not that I'm counting.
Not that you're counting, but compared to my 17, right?
Woo-hoo. Hey, you got to start somewhere. I remember getting 100 and being, that was the super excited mark, was like, holy moly. And you've been shooting up. So that's all that matters, right? As long as the trajectory's up.
I am going up. I mean, the only way to go is up, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I can't believe no one's calling in. Or not calling in.
I know. It's been a light night. You know why I think no one's calling in? Because this is one of those videos that's just, everyone agrees it's silly. Yeah, exactly. Woohoo! Will in the house. What's up, Will?
Big Will.
Drop the link. I'll do one more. We'll go one more time.
That's what she said.
Yeah, that's right.
Give me 15 minutes.
That's right. We got 15 more minutes. So if you'd like to join us, now is the time. We are Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca. What do I mean by that? Someone was actually claiming that Moses rallied his, I want to say troops, his people, the Israeli people, around the golden calf. Where did that event take place? Someone was saying in Mecca. Not only were they saying that event happened in Mecca, but they were actually trying to rally support to retake Mecca, if such a notion is possible. I'm sure the oil companies are like, yeah, good luck with that. We already retook it years ago. We're kind of like best buddies. You good luck. Good luck.
But it does show the archaeology history, the people that have actually taken time. Again, I want to point out, Dr. Robin, or Robin, but Robin, his work in the region, and others like him who have shown in this archaeology and this analysis is pretty much accepted, as been multiply verified by multiple sources, as far as there was a dominant ethnic Jewish group in the region projecting into Saudi Arabia prior to the rise of Islam. The reason there's so much quote unquote Jewishness in Islam isn't an accident. It is what anthropologists, historians, and others that study the period would expect. The fact that many historians, not myself, but I mean, I might fall into this group, would describe, Muhammad's movement as him being a disgruntled, hopeful Jew. This was the attempt. He was attempting to convert Jewish people of the Jewish identity and this earlier kingdom of the Himmerite people into his movement. And the fact that he's, later polemics, like if you read the Quran and other works, there were no Jews, they were bad people, a few converted, those were the true members of the faith. But the reality is, for a long time, Jews maybe not were an ethnic majority, but they were a political power in the region. They can, there were kingdoms, Jewish kingdoms, where the aristocracy were predominantly Jewish, that were projecting power throughout the region, originating in Yemen, projecting out into Saudi Arabia, including places like Mecca, Medina, other places. Riyadh, by the way, was occupied and controlled by Jewish people at one time, a Jewish kingdom. Now, if you're a Islamic fundamentalist who believes in the infallibility, you don't want to admit this. You don't want to look at the archaeology and historical record and these inscriptions of kings who were traced back to Yemen, who were Jewish, that were controlling a region you consider given to you by God. But then on the other hand, you got knuckleheads like our friend Avi from the video, who are saying, Jews have been there forever. So it gives an ethnic claim. It's ahistorical, but now people start listening to Avi, and all of a sudden they're saying, well, Jews should be in control of Saudi Arabia because there's this record, right? And it creates additional tension. And it can, it's just one more
unneeded
bomb
tension,
to put in the bomb cart for hoping it doesn't explode, right?
As if we needed more problems in the Middle East, right? That's exactly what they need. Woo, and I will say,
and some more kerosene.
Send and love. We will be heading to Discord after the stream. A 3-act play. I know. Just he was responding to Judaism 1.0, Judaism 2.0, Judaism 3.0. And yeah, it's all about how they market it. I can feel their either attachment or attempted attachment to Judaism when they're doing apologetics. Because when you're talking with Muslims, their connection to atheists is shitting on Christianity. To which all of the atheists are normally like, I mean, sure. I mean, we don't agree. They're like, oh, so silly with the guy, Jesus coming back from the dead. And we're like, I guess, sure. And they're like, oh, yeah, it's nothing like that. It's totally like Judaism. And we're like, wait. We don't even believe most of those guys existed. So I don't know. You want to really go backwards in that step?
You look at the period of, like, again, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th century CE, right?
Can you hear me?
Okay. There were major conflicts for regional control of Yemen and Saudi Arabia going on between groups that identified as ethnically Jewish, although they were Arabs, Christian Arabs, and pagan Arabs. they were all, you know, and you wonder why Islam was seen as a militant movement or a militaristic religious movement. There was already a huge amount of ethnic and religious tension in the region. It just, I don't know. I guess I'm now quote unquote preaching to the choir because everybody on this channel realizes it, or most people do, I guess.
Well, I mean, anytime that we have stuff that deals with the Middle East, I post the same comment and it gets 1 million likes because it seems to be the only thing that people agree on, and it's religion poisons everything. Now, I understand that's a little bit hyperbolic. I understand people are going to be like the community, the family, the food or whatever. Sure. Take it. I don't even care. My point is that if it wasn't for the fundamentalists of all these gosh darn religions, they would not be fighting over all these wars. Not saying war would not exist. That is also a silly claim. There are plenty of reasons.
One less reason to fight.
Yes, but it would it would, and a major one. It would be one less major region.
But it is humans a major one.
Yes, exactly. Once again, humans have picked plenty of reasons to fight over. In fact, land is probably, if I had to pick, I think land would probably be
resources,
the
land,
number.
Water,
yeah, exactly, be the number one. But coming in very close second would be religion, and we can't do anything about land, so we're going to have to intellectually win people over.
There's only really three reasons you should ever scream, "Oh God, oh God, oh God." The first is someone very near and dear to you dies. The second is you step on a nail without wearing shoes. And the third is during an orgasm. That's pretty much it.
I mean, I agree.
You know, I mean, that's, you know, I mean, other than that, you know, it's superstition. That's okay. I mean, I'd rather play with a Ouija board in all intents and purposes. So I'm trying to summon bubbles right now.
Well, I was going to say, we may be doing an episode with that. I would love to do an episode of a Ouija board because...
Are you going to fuck with the Ouija board on camera, Amy? You and Amber?
Absolutely. And I will say, this will get me killed one day, but I love saying Allah snack bar. Allah snack bar. It's always a good time. I know. What is... I saw another
what kind of
retaliation
could a... You know, what kind of retaliation would a
well,
person expect from people insulting Islam? But no, don't worry about it.
It's okay. I'm gonna insult all of them equally and just tell them that I love them because it's true, and I find that funny. Allah snack.
But you understand that there's the source of the insult is part of the problem, right?
Sure, where they're coming from and all that. Oh, absolutely.
No. Where your insult is originating. It's no different than why Kurdish women are seen as worse than, you know, dying at the hands of a Kurdish woman by ISIS is worse than dying at the hands of a male Kurd in their worldview. Because to die at the hands of a woman is to be less respected by God.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yes, that's why the Kurdish Peshmerga have fully female units and have snipers trained to shoot male members of the enemy so they can know that they were killed by a woman and thus don't receive the glory in the afterlife.
Well, I mean, you know what I mean.
As it should be, because there's nothing more intimidating than a woman that can shoot you at 500 yards and turn your head into red mist. So you got to love that.
Woo-hoo. And I'm seeing Soldier of Science. We would talk. It's a whole episode's worth, and I'm trying to. We almost did an entire episode about that entire situation, but I held off. I'm glad I held off because I was very.
Which situation?
Afghanistan and the Taliban.
Oh, right.
But I'm glad I held off because I just in the past week I've learned so much.
Let it percolate. The current events unfold a little bit.
And I want to talk about the history. I want to talk about. Still have to express my feelings, but yeah. Hopefully we can get it out in a bit. But yeah, if you want to join, this is the last 5 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. We've been Midnight Ranting on Return to Mecca, but we're about to head over to the Discord server. It was a fun stream.
It was. No, I had a great time. Soldier of Science asked a question in the chat as far as if I think we should have let Russia take over Afghanistan. I guess he's talking about the earlier.
That is let me answer that question as someone who's just been reading a lot about Afghanistan.
Did they try that?
That is a funny question because that assumes that Russia can take over Afghanistan.
And begs the question whether or not we had the power to give Afghanistan to the Afghanis in light of Russian involvement. First of all, it's very Amerocentric, right? Should we as America have let Russia do something?
Well, it's just such a quagmire. I mean, it's a good question. Well, I'm not shitting on the question. I just mean that the Soviets tried very hard. The irony is we helped ensure that the Soviets failed in Afghanistan. I mean, this is why I'm so glad I'm learning all of this, because it's like, wow, cycles and all it just. Anyway, we have, it looks like SOS behind there. I'll add possibly the 15 minutes for a person I like to get in so they can actually talk. But then we are rolling back out to the Discord. So SOS, I hear you out there. How are you? We can hear you now. We are Midnight Ranting.
Yeah.
Oh, Soldier of Science. Duh.
Yeah, Soldier of Science. Yeah.
Hope you are doing well. We're going to add 15 minutes to the clock. And so, how are you? And what are your thoughts about Return to Mecca or anything we've been talking about?
You know, I didn't see the entire video, but obviously I think it's ridiculous because, you know, I don't even believe Moses existed in the first place. But I think it's interesting that, you know, there was all kinds of miracles by God at that time. And, you know, the Israelites saw plagues, you know, they saw the firstborn of, you know, the Egyptians killed off. And yet they still wanted to worship a golden calf just because Moses disappeared for a little while.
Which 5 minutes.
Yeah, you know, which brings up a great point of most modern apologists who say, you know what, God doesn't show himself because faith is integral, right? I mean, faith is important. You almost don't want to see God. But these guys like saw evidence of God every freaking day, and yet they still chose to worship something else. Sure. It's pretty amazing. But you know, I kind of jumped in obviously because of my question about, you know, whether we thought that, you know, maybe the U.S. did help the rise of fundamental Islam in Afghanistan and probably Iran as well. You know, both countries were leaning towards communism, you know, post World War II. Both of them were. And because of the Monroe Doctrine and other things like that, we decided that we didn't want the spread of communism. But it's biting us in the butt now, right? I mean,
things have unintended consequences. Yep.
Yeah. So I kind of. Yeah, go ahead. I wanted to hear you speak.
Using the word communism is kind of a loaded term because in Iran in particular, they were embracing a more socialistic but not communistic society, right? So we in American papers read the word communism, but what they were actually attempting to do was have like a more what we'd consider democratic form of socialism in Iran, right? And we thought that was too close to communism, so it was time to get rid of it. They weren't embracing Western capitalism. Was the problem. Sure. And they wanted to nationalize the oil reserves, which was really problematic for companies in the United States and British Petroleum, which had major stakes in the country. So we overthrew a democratically elected, or helped overthrow a democratically elected government because we overthrew a democracy because it didn't meet our geopolitical and economic interests in the United States.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you know, I think most Americans don't realize that the Iranian people would probably prefer a Western society and are super friendly people. You know, it's the Ayatollahs and the hardline fundamentalists that we've kind of always hated. But as far as who we ally with in the Middle East, it makes very little sense that we allied with Saudi Arabia, who are hardcore Sunnis, versus Shias in Iran, which tend to be more moderate as far as Islam goes.
Well, again, yeah, I understand your point, and I think it's a point worth exploring. I wish we had more time, but we're not going to have it tonight. But I would also, caution, if imagine you're sitting in Iran tonight, you're watching your TV, and you're hearing Marjorie Taylor Greene talk.
Yeah.
Religious fundamentalists from our country talking, and then that is the worldview being projected of the United States.
That's
the problem, is media crafts the narrative.
Yeah, absolutely. And and Trump taking out a major general, which is completely against anything militarily we've ever done, assassinating another world military leader, and basically getting away with it just because we have nuclear weapons. I think it's pretty ridiculous that the United States can do things like that and expect other countries to bow down to us just because we have nuclear weapons. It's unreal.
And guys, 10 more minutes, and then we are wrapping up.
Yeah. Anybody else want to add to this? Have anything else to say?
I would say stuff, but I don't want to say too much because I'm making we could do a whole podcast. I'm making a bit about it.
I really don't, unless I'm going to go back and get another cup of ouzo and a few more
beers.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you guys should do it, and I'll join in. I'll just let you guys know, I'm in my last couple of days in the Philippines. As I said before, I was in a 10-day quarantine because of COVID-19. And then, this stuff happened in Afghanistan where, 13 service members were killed, unfortunately. And all I saw from, my friends that all live in Alabama was like, hey, this is the worst president in the world. He let 13 people die. He has blood on his hands. And my response was, there's been service members killed every single year that we've been in Afghanistan. Right. There was 11 last year. There was 23 in 2019. Did any of you guys cry at that? Did any of you guys cry when Trump totally abandoned the Kurds in Syria? None of you. Peeps. Zero. And not only that, Trump set, just like Bush did with Iraq, who had the SOFA agreement and set the withdrawal date. Every Republican blames Obama for not leaving troops in Iraq. Every Republican now blames Biden for the withdrawal in Afghanistan. And I guess what I will say is, maybe there was some things done hastily. I really don't know the details of how we could have maybe evacuated people prior to announcing that date. But what I have said to every single one of my Republican friends is, if Biden had just said, you know what, we're evacuating 60 to 100,000 Muslims to the United States, that would be the issue right now. It wouldn't be that 13 service members died. It would be that Biden, and quote me on this now, because I'm sure it'll come up in a month or two. Biden let in 100,000 Muslims from Afghanistan, and there's going to be a certain amount of terrorists that he let in. That will be the talking point, and it won't be the 13 service members killed. And I have a feeling that Trump probably knew this. Trump probably knew when he announced the date for May that he was going to come to this wall of, you know what, I'm going to have to evacuate our allies, and I'm going to have to evacuate a bunch of Muslims from Afghanistan in the United States. And what will my base think about that? Versus if I just let Biden do it, So I think that's going to be a great talking point for when we
politics,
do start. It is. But yep. So that's all I have to say.
The difference of U.S. foreign policy is that, in the last 4 years before Biden, we had a president and advisors, many of them, not all of them, who thought that when they walked into a room, they were the smartest people in the room. Right. I can tell you that when Trump walks into the room, he has the lowest IQ in the room, and it could be in a room of high school students. Yeah. The reality is that the Taliban negotiated and Trump initiated negotiations with the Taliban. His administration did. They fully knew that we were going to be backpedaling out of Afghanistan just by the way we postured ourselves during these negotiations. I mean, we gave them, and I say we because it was the United States, gave them, combatants, known terrorists, as a act of quote unquote good faith in these negotiations. So, the issue is we're out of Afghanistan and we're gonna have to suffer the consequences of it now, whether or not we watch a country descend into chaos or we also see the region become less stable. That's the reality of what happened. And whether or not U.S. troops should be there, that's a different question.
I mean, I think there were mistakes made at every step of the way, probably from George Bush originally through the Obama years, the Trump years, and maybe the exit now. Maybe it could have been done better. I don't know, but it'll be the subject of history.
Yeah, I'll go back as far as Carter. I would say that. I mean, that was why my original question is
the Iranian Revolution.
Should we have just let Russia take over Afghanistan? And obviously, before Russia came in, Russia only came in to help the communists that were already in power in Afghanistan. So there was already a president who was it was the Communist Party was already in power in Afghanistan at that point. Russia just came in to help fortify them against the I can't even say the word, but yeah, exactly. And so they came in to fortify that. But we trained a lot of these I can't say the damn word, but we trained a lot of them and a lot of them eventually became the Taliban. Their sons, the orphans of these people who went through a civil war. We trained a lot of these guys. They were our allies. We abandoned them after they beat the Soviets.
It was a proxy war for the Cold War.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, with that said, you still have so many tribes in Afghanistan that have different viewpoints, regardless of the Taliban. Even if the Taliban wasn't
a fractured country,
you still have a fractured country that hasn't embraced freedom in any sense of the word because of corruption and just different viewpoints. But again, I think hindsight is 20/20. If we never went in and forced Russia out, that country would be communist to this day, and maybe you wouldn't have the Islamic fundamentalist rise.
Remember, the Soviet Union collapsed, and then the satellite countries, most of them abandoned communism. So it would have been communism for a little bit, but
true.
I disagree. I don't think a foreign European power, Russia being nominally European, I don't think a European power can outlast the Afghan people.
That may be true. That may be true.
Whether or not the U.S. was supplying, I mean, really what we did as the United States with our military aid was help the Mujahideen kill more Russians.
Yeah.
The Mujahideen was going to fight Russia either way.
Right. No, I mean, we gave them really great rockets to shoot down their helicopters.
And that's what a proxy war is. We have someone else fight for us while an enemy of an enemy is my friend.
Yep. All right. Well, cool. Thanks for letting me join, guys. I'll be back in the U.S.
Absolutely. And Soldier, it's an interesting subject. I am trying, like I was trying to say earlier, I'm trying to process it. And so I've been trying to say how to figure out how to make it funny without sounding like an asshole.
Right. No, I mean, and you have to cross that. Yeah. What I think is interesting with the United States is on the right, people who view the Taliban, they view the Taliban in the same way that they view Al-Qaeda or ISIS. The Taliban never was an international organization. They're an organization that's in Pakistan and Afghanistan. They did not have the funding of an Al-Qaeda or an ISIS. They weren't people who traveled to the United States and tried to blow up the United States. They were honestly, and you kind of have to view it from their side, right? Where America and Russia were foreign invaders, right? They were foreign invaders, and no matter how bad we think the Taliban are, which they are, don't get me wrong, they do not give freedom to women in their country. They practice Sharia law, which is cutting off the hands of thieves and killing homosexuals. They are horrible people. But so is freaking Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, who we don't do shit to because they have freaking nuclear weapons. And Saudi Arabia is friends of ours who we fund militarily and help them kill people in Yemen and so forth. So I think it would be good if you guys did this, because it would help open the eyes of Americans who view the Taliban in a very narrow perspective and group them in with all other Muslim terrorists, which they are not at all. They are freedom fighters of their country, no matter how backwards they are. They're freedom fighters.
I don't know if I support the Taliban, but I wouldn't go that far.
I'm not saying support the Taliban. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying
I wouldn't use that term for them, but I see I get what the point you're trying to make is they're fighting for what they think is their home. They're fighting for what they think is their country. Yeah.
Correct. No matter how wrong it is, it's not America's place. I'm just saying it's not America's place to go in and liberate countries from their own population, no matter how wrong it is. And if that is our objective, just like I said, why haven't we done that in Pakistan, who is run by hardline fundamentals? Why haven't we done it in Saudi Arabia?
To think we would turn Afghanistan into a democracy.
Yeah, but I'll play devil's advocate. Let's be glad the French didn't think that 200 years ago, or we'd still be under British rule.
No, that's true. I mean, exactly. I mean, we were the Taliban. We were the Taliban.
We'd have lost our Revolutionary War.
We were the Taliban during the Revolutionary War. Yeah,
I'm just saying that, you know, the involvement of foreign countries in the affair of foreign countries is kind of, you know, the de facto state of of the world. And, you know, before we sit there and talk about, well, we shouldn't be country building. Okay, I get that. That's, you know, in the general principle, I would tend to agree, but there's always the exception to the rule. And non-interference is a great concept, but, you know, I'm really glad that the King of France didn't hold to that view. Otherwise, you know, right. And again, there's places we should just, I mean, I think it's the manner of how you do nation building or aiding nations that want to seek a form of government that be maybe more in line with what your ideals are as a foreign power. It's how totalitarian are you going to be in the adoption and enforcement of your vision in these countries, I think, is the issue. I mean, you know, the Filipinos, you're in a country right now that welcomed the American victory against the Spanish, and then were forcibly subjugated by the Americans for the next 30 to 40 years.
That's correct. That is very correct.
The most brutal suppressions of the Filipino people didn't occur to the Spanish, it occurred on the Americans.
Yep. And what's so funny is that a lot of people don't realize this. You know, the revolutionaries, the name of the revolutionaries in the Philippines who were fighting against the United States and the Spanish, they're called the KKK. That is literally the initials of their. I don't know the exact what it stands for, but they were the KKK. Not obviously not the American KKK, but yeah, just a little bit of fact.
And okay, we're at about 3:15. We're gonna move into outros. It has been a fun night. We have been midnight ranting on Return to Mecca. And I will say, because Soldier just joined us, that means you're going to head us off.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off the fun as we move into...
You didn't let me say You didn't let me say the mine. The super straight mine.
I think I lost.
Exactly. Oh, can you hear us? Can you hear us? We hear you. Are you here?
Hello?
Hello. Soldier of Science. Really? We hear you.
First to Soldier.
If you can hear us, you can say whatever you like, that is my answer. And okay, he may come back, but I just want to say it's good to see you back, Soldier of Science. I think he said he's been chilling in the Philippines, And now I think he's either heading back, heading somewhere. Woohoo! Well, we're sending love to you, Soldier of Science. It was good to have you back on. But we are going to keep on going down. If you'd like, you can come back on, or you can meet us on the Discord as I pass this off. We have been having fun, James. We've been Midnight Ranting. Newman, we got to fuck us.
Fuck us, Newman.
We've been asking about the return to Mecca. I hope you had fun. Mecca. What are your final thoughts?
It was a lot of fun. So yeah, I found this video. I thought it was worth reviewing. Thought it was worth watching a Christian / Jew try to mold history with current events, bake it into a shitloaf, and put it in a book and get people to buy it, which is what happens a lot of times. But it was still fun to go through and point out exactly how it was done. And I think everybody agrees that it was done very poorly. And, well, as long as you're listening with a skeptical mind and you're not just absorbing and believing everything, it was done pretty poorly. If you're just going to take everything at face value and not really think analytically, then, maybe you were convinced by it. I don't know, but I don't think many of our audience fit that category. So thank you, Pat, for coming on. It's always a big help to have a historian, an archaeologist, to be able to hit those finer points of history, say, well, you know what? The Jews were in Saudi Arabia, but it's about 1,200 years off. So no, you can't say that because they were there in the 2nd century that, well, maybe they were there in the 12th century BC. No, negative. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Amy. And thanks for everybody for coming and having a good time with us. And thank you, Soldier, for coming on, too.
That's right. Thank you so very much, Soldier, for coming on. And thank you, James. This was fantastic. We're going to hand it off. Normally, we have our special guest host with us tonight, Pat Lowinger. We brought him on because
sponsored by Urzo.
Yeah, exactly. When people start to talk about history, we like to start to get at least as many academics we can pile up. It's great to have you here with us. Hope you had fun. And I guess, what are your final thoughts as we return to Mecca tonight?
You on mute, Pat?
Damn, second time. No, as always, thanks for having me on. I just want to point out, this is not my area of focus. Saudi Arabia is ancillary to my studies. The only reason I was really aware of what happened in the Himmerite kingdoms was because I studied the period that leads up to the Islamic conquest of Roman Syria, because it's an area of my focus, particularly in history of early Christianity. But there are historians who specialize in these areas who could give exquisite analysis of what actually was occurring in Saudi Arabia as far as Jewish, Christian, and pagan communities prior to the rise of Islam. And there are people that have devoted their academic, future and their entire life to it. All I can say is it's really awful that people can go on a TV show, pander a book, and it's a book, and it doesn't, just because it's written a book doesn't mean that it's worth even reading. Now, if you're going to read a book, read my book, The Trade, the Orthodox Subjugation of Women in the Early Christian Church. Yeah, so I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, when my book comes out, I expect you all to buy it and religiously have me sign it. And devotion will be weighed upon me in appropriate levels, and I will accept it.
Will you accept offerings and sacrifices?
I will, on behalf of the women portrayed in the book. I will say, as an aside, in all seriousness, no, a portion of all proceeds from my book will go to the National Center for Exploited and Victimized Women, as well as to the Society for Antiquarian Studies. So that there
awesome.
Will be some good coming out of the book.
It will go to help people in need. Beautiful.
But thanks for having me on. And as soon as I get the information, I'll.
Do you have the link for Pat's channel there, Amy? Discovering Ancient History with Pat Lowinger. Just posted a video today from Cornwall. Was that Cornwall you said?
And there's going to be, right, yeah, it's the Western Cornwall. It's from Penwith. That's the county, I guess you'd call it. And that it's known as Carn Glusi. It's a cairn, a burial tomb, stone, megalithic site. I can talk about Cornwall all day. I'm not going to do it. I think Amy's sound went out. But I'm going to post about 20 videos covering Cornwall during that period of the late Neolithic through Bronze Age. So then I'll move on to Roman period stuff later on my channel.
And if you're like us, we can't get enough ancient history. We can't get enough of it because we want the things that we believe to actually line up with real history. So when guys like Pat go and dig in the ground and find artifacts, it should line up with reality, with our history. And if it doesn't, guess what? We'll change what we believe based on the evidence.
Woo-hoo. And all right. I hope you all had a fun time on this episode of Midnight Ranting, Return to Mecca, where we explored the notion that Moses and the children of Israel migrated from Mecca. I want to thank my co-host, James W., along with our special guest host, Pat Lowinger, woo-hoo, and our guest, Soldier of Science, along with our awesome mods who make this stream so great. The people in chat, and all of our lovely viewers who make this channel even possible. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to like, follow, or subscribe. Woohoo! And then hit that bell icon so you can join our live streams. After the show, we will be heading over to the Skeptic and Ranting Discord server, the link of which is in the description below. Lastly, if you would like to help us make even more fun content, we offer some unique community perks for our supporters by checking out our Patreon at patreon.com/Amy Newman.
Speaking of perks, how's Gavin doing down there?
And we will see you all on the next episode of Skeptic Ball Z. Good night, everybody.
How's Gavin?
Good night.